The Cave of Treasures, translation. By the might of our Lord Jesus Christ, we begin to write the book of the succession of the generations, that is, a Me'arath Gaz, which was composed by Saint Mar Afram. O our Lord, help thou me in thy mercy. Amen. The first 1,000 years, Adam to Jared. The creation, first day. In the beginning, on the first day, which was the holy first day of the week, the chief and firstborn of all the days, God created the heavens, the earth, the waters, the air, the fire, and the hosts which are invisible, that is to say, the angels, lords, principalities, archangels, powers, thrones, cherubim and seraphim, and all the ranks and companies of spiritual beings, and the light, and the night, and the daytime, and the gentle winds and the strong winds. All these were created on the first day. On the first day of the week, the Spirit of holiness, one of the persons of the Trinity, hovered over the waters. Through his hovering over the face of the waters were blessed so that they might become producers of offspring, and they became hot, and the whole nature of the waters glowed with heat, and the leaven of creation was united to them. As the mother bird warms her young by the embrace of her closely covering wings, and the young acquire form through the warmth they receive from her, so through the operation of the Spirit of holiness, the Spirit, the Paraclete, the leaven of the breath of life, was united to the waters when he hovered over them. The creation, second day. On the second day God made the lower heaven and called it Rekia, that is to say, what is solid and fixed, or firmament. This he did to make known that the lower heaven does not possess the nature of the heaven above it, and that it is different in appearance from that higher heaven. For the heaven above is of fire. That second heaven is light, and this lower heaven is dense in nature, and because it has the dense nature of water, it has been called Rakia. On the second day, God made a separation between the waters and the waters, that is, between the waters which were above the firmament and the waters which were below. The ascent of the waters which were above heaven took place on the second day, and they were like a black, dense cloud of thick darkness. Thus were they raised up there, and they mounted up, and behold, they stand above the firmament in the air, and they do not spread, and they make no motion to any side. The creation, third day. On the third day God commanded the waters that were below the firmament to be gathered together in one place, and the dry land to appear. When the covering of water had been rolled up from the face of the earth showed itself to be in an unsettled and unstable state, being of a moist and yielding nature. The waters were gathered together into seas that were under the earth, within it and upon it. God made in the earth, from below, corridors, shafts, and channels for the passage of the waters, and the winds that come from within the earth ascend by means of these corridors and channels, and also the heat and the cold for the surface of the earth. The lower part of the earth is like a thick sponge, for it rests upon the waters. On this third day God commanded the earth, and it brought forth herbs and vegetables, and it conceived within itself trees, seeds, plants, and roots. The creation, fourth day. On the fourth day God made the sun, the moon, and the stars. As soon as the heat of the sun was diffused over the surface of the earth became hard and rigid and lost its flaccidity, for the humidity and dampness caused by the waters were taken away from it. The Creator made the sphere of the sun of fire and filled it with light. He gave to the sphere of the moon and the stars bodies of water and air and filled them with light. When the dust of the earth became hot, it brought forth all the trees, plants, seeds, and roots which had been conceived inside it on the third day. The creation, fifth day. On the fifth day, God commanded the waters, and they brought forth all kinds of fish of diverse appearances, and creatures which move about, twist themselves, and wriggle in the waters, and serpents, and leviathan, and beasts of terrible aspects, and feathered fowl of the air and of the waters. On this same day God made from the earth all the cattle and wild beasts, and all the reptiles which creep upon the earth. The creation, sixth day. On the sixth day, the eve of the Sabbath, God formed man out of the dust, and Eve from his rib. The creation, seventh day. On the seventh day God rested from his labors, and it is called the Sabbath. The creation of Adam. The formation of Adam took place in this manner. on the sixth day, the eve of the Sabbath, at the first hour of the day, when quietness was reigning over all the ranks of the angels and the hosts of heaven, God said, "Come, let us make man in our image and according to our likeness." By this word, us, he made known the glorious persons of the Trinity. When the angels heard this utterance, they fell into fear and trembling, saying to one another, "A mighty miracle will be revealed to us this day, the likeness of God, our Maker." They saw the right hand of God opened out flat and stretched over the whole world, and all creatures were collected in the palm of his hand. They saw that he took from the whole mass of the earth 1 grain of dust, and from the whole nature of water 1 drop of water, and from all the air above 1 puff of wind, and from the whole nature of fire a little of its heat and warmth. When these 4 feeble materials, cold, heat, dryness, and moisture, were placed in his hand, God formed Adam. He took a grain of earth so that everything formed of earth should be subject to him, a drop of water so that all things in the seas and rivers should be his, a puff of air so that all creatures that fly in the air might be given to him, and the heat of fire so that all beings that are fiery in nature, and the celestial hosts might be his helpers. God formed Adam with his holy hands, in his own image and likeness. When the angels saw Adam's glorious appearance, they were greatly moved by its beauty. They saw the image of his face burning with splendor like the orb of the sun, the light of his eyes like the light of the sun, and the image of his body like the sparkling of crystal. When Adam rose at full length and stood upright in the center of the earth, he planted his 2 feet on that spot where the cross of our Redeemer would later be set up, for Adam was created in Jerusalem. There he was arrayed in the apparel of sovereignty, and there the crown of glory was set upon his head. There he was made king and priest and prophet. There God made him sit upon his honorable throne, and there God gave him dominion over all creatures and all things. All the wild beasts, all the cattle, and the feathered fowl were gathered together, and they passed before Adam. He assigned names to them, and they bowed their heads before him. Everything in nature worshipped him and submitted itself unto him. The angels and the hosts of heaven heard the voice of God saying to him, "Adam, behold, I have made thee king, and priest, and prophet, and Lord, and head, and governor of everything which hath been made and created. They shall be in subjection unto thee, and they shall be thine, and I have given thee power over everything which I have created." When the angels heard this speech, they all bowed the knee and worshipped him, the revolt of Satan and the battle in heaven. When the prince of the lower order of angels saw the great majesty that had been given to Adam, he was jealous of him from that day, and he did not wish to worship him. He said to his hosts, "You shall not worship him, and you shall not praise him with the angels. It is meet that you should worship me, for I am fire and spirit, and not that I should worship a thing of dust, fashioned from fine dust." Meditating these things, the rebel would not render obedience to God. Of his own free will, he asserted his independence and separated himself from God. He was swept away out of heaven and fell, and the fall of himself and all his company took place on the 6th day, at the 2nd hour of the day. The apparel of their glorious state was stripped from them. His name was called Satana, because he turned aside from the right way, and Sheda, because he was cast out, and Daiwa, because he lost the apparel of his glory. From that time until this day he and all his hosts have been stripped of their apparel, and they go naked and have horrible faces. When Satan was cast out from heaven, Adam was raised up so that he might ascend to paradise in a chariot of fire. The angels went before him singing praises. The seraphim ascribed holiness unto him, and the cherubim ascribed blessing. Amid cries of joy and praise, Adam went into paradise. As soon as Adam entered paradise, he was commanded not to eat of the tree. His entrance into paradise took place at the 3rd hour of the eve of the Sabbath. When the Father saw Satan's overbearing attitude, he knew that his wickedness and rebellion had reached their highest pitch. He ordered the celestial soldiers to take from him the written authority that was in his hand, to strip off his armor, and to hurl him down from heaven to earth. Satan had been the greatest of the angels, and God had made him the commander-in-chief of the celestial hosts. In the document which Satan held were written the names of all the angels under his command, and knowing their names, his authority over them was absolute. When God saw that the angels hesitated to take the document from him, he commanded them to bring a sharp reaping knife and to stab him on this side and that, piercing him through to the backbone and shoulder blades. Satan could no longer stand upright. A cherub smote him, broke his wings and ribs, and, having rendered him helpless, cast him down from heaven upon the earth. Then he became the archdevil and the leader of those who were cast out with him, who henceforth were devils. The making of Eve. God cast a deep sleep upon Adam, and he slept. God took a rib from the right side of Adam's loins and made Eve from it. When Adam awoke and saw Eve, he rejoiced greatly in her. Adam and Eve were in paradise, clothed with glory and shining with praise for 3 hours. Paradise was situated on a high range of hills, 30 spans, according to the measurement of the Spirit, higher than all the mountains, and it surrounded the whole earth. Paradise and its meaning. Moses the prophet said that God planted paradise in Eden and placed Adam there. Paradise was situated on Mount Eden, beyond the ocean, and was filled with fruit-bearing trees. A great river sprang up in it, and was parted into 4 heads, Pishon, which flowed through Havilah, where there were beryls, gold, and precious stones, Gihon, the Nile of Egypt, the Tigris, which flows through Assyria, and the Euphrates. The keepers of paradise were Enoch and Elijah, and in it dwelt the souls of the righteous. The souls of sinners dwelt in a deep place outside Eden. The tree of good and evil did not possess its properties naturally, but only through the deed wrought by its means. Adam and Eve did not become naked and die the death of sin because they desired the fruit of the fig tree, but because they transgressed the commandment. The symbolism of Eden. Eden is the holy church, and the church is the compassion of God which he was about to extend to the children of men. God, according to his foreknowledge, knew what Satan had devised against Adam, and therefore he set Adam beforehand in the bosom of his compassion, even as David sang, "Lord, Thou hast been an abiding place for us throughout all generations," meaning, Thou hast made us to have our abiding place in Thy compassion. When entreating God on behalf of the redemption of mankind, David said, "Remember Thy church, which Thou didst acquire in olden time," meaning, remember Thy compassion, which Thou art about to spread over our feeble race. Eden is the holy church, and the paradise within it is the land of rest, and the inheritance of life, which God has prepared for all the holy children of men. Because Adam was priest, king, and prophet, God brought him into paradise that he might minister in Eden, the holy church, and keep the commandment entrusted to him by the compassion of God. God made Adam and Eve to dwell in paradise. The tree of life in the midst of paradise prefigured the redeeming cross, the true tree of life, which was fixed in the middle of the earth. Satan's attack on Adam and Eve. When Satan saw that Adam and Eve were happy and joyful in paradise, he was smitten with jealousy and filled with wrath. He went and took up his abode in the serpent, raised him up, and made him fly through the air to the skirts of the mountain on which paradise was situated. Satan entered the body of the serpent because he knew that his own appearance was foul, and that if Eve saw his true form, she would flee from him. As a man who teaches a bird to speak places a mirror before it, so that the bird, seeing its own reflection, imagines it is speaking with another of its kind, so did Satan hide himself in the serpent to deceive Eve. When he saw Eve alone, he called her by name. She turned toward him and saw her own form reflected in him, and she spoke with him. Satan led her astray with lying words, for the nature of woman is yielding. When Eve heard from him concerning the tree, she ran quickly to it, plucked the fruit of disobedience from the tree of transgression, and ate. Immediately she found herself naked, saw the shame of her nakedness, and hid herself among the trees, covering herself with their leaves. She cried out to Adam, and he came to her. She gave him some of the fruit, and he also ate. When he had eaten, he too became naked, and he and Eve made girdles for their loins from the leaves of the fig trees. They were arrayed in these girdles of ignominy for 3 hours. At midday they received their sentence of doom. God made for them tunics of skin stripped from the trees, bark soft as byssus and silk, and clothed them with this covering, spread over bodies now subject to infirmity. Adam's stay in paradise. At the third hour of the day, Adam and Eve ascended into paradise. For 3 hours they enjoyed its good things. For 3 hours they were in shame and disgrace, and at the 9th hour their expulsion took place. As they were going forth sorrowfully, God spoke to Adam and strengthened him, saying, "Be not sorrowful, O Adam, for I will restore to thee thine inheritance. Though I have cursed the earth for thy sake, yet have I withdrawn thee from the full weight of the curse. As for the serpent, I have bound his legs in his belly and given him the dust of the earth for food. Eve have I bound under the yoke of servitude. Because thou hast transgressed my commandment, get thee forth, but be not sad. After the times appointed for your exile in the land under the curse, I will send my son. He shall go down for thy redemption, shall dwell in a virgin, and shall put on a body of flesh. Through him redemption and return shall be accomplished for thee. Command thy sons to embalm thy body after thy death with myrrh, cassia, and stocks, and to place thee in this cave wherein I make you dwell this day, until the time when your expulsion from the regions of paradise shall be complete. Whoever shall remain in those days shall take thy body and deposit it in the center of the earth, in the place I shall show him. For in that place redemption shall be wrought for thee, and for all thy children." God revealed to Adam everything the Son would suffer on his behalf, Adam's expulsion from paradise. When Adam and Eve had gone forth, the door of paradise was shut, and a cherub bearing a two-edged sword stood by it. Adam and Eve went down over the mountains of paradise, borne by the Spirit, and they found a cave at the top of the mountain. They entered and hid themselves therein. Adam and Eve were virgins, and Adam wished to know Eve his wife. Adam took myrrh and frankincense from the skirts of the mountain of paradise and placed them in the cave. He blessed the cave and consecrated it so that it might be the house of prayer for himself and his sons. He called the cave Me'arath Gaz, the cave of treasures. Adam and Eve went down from the holy mountain of Eden to the slopes below it, and there Adam knew Eve his wife. Eve conceived and brought forth Cain and his sister Labuda. She conceived again and brought forth Abel and his sister Kelemath. When the children grew up, Adam said to Eve, "Let Cain take Kelemath, who was brought forth with Abel, and let Abel take Labuda, who was brought forth with Cain." But Cain said to his mother, "I will take my twin sister Labuda, and let Abel take his twin sister Kelemath, for Labuda was beautiful." When Adam heard these words, which displeased him greatly, he said, "It will be a transgression of the commandment for thee to take to wife thy sister, who was born with thee. Nevertheless, take fruits of the trees and the young of the sheep, and go up to the top of this holy mountain. Enter the cave of treasures, offer your offerings, make your prayers, and then you shall consort with your wives." As Adam, the first priest, and Cain and Abel his sons were going up the mountain, Satan entered into Cain and persuaded him to kill Abel because of Labuda, and because Cain's offering was rejected while Abel's was accepted. Cain's jealousy increased. When they came down to the plain, Cain rose up against Abel and killed him with a blow from a stone of flint. Cain received the doom of death instead of curses and became a fugitive and wanderer all the days of his life. God drove him into exile in the forest of Nod, and Cain took his twin sister as wife and dwelt there. Adam carried Abel to the cave of treasures and buried him there, setting beside him a lamp that burned day and night. Adam and Eve mourned for Abel in great grief, the birth of Seth. After a long period of mourning, Adam knew his wife again, and she brought forth Seth the beautiful, a man mighty and perfect like Adam. He became the father of the mighty men who lived before the flood. To Seth was born Enosh. Enosh begot Cainan, and Cainan begot Mahalalel. These were the patriarchs born in the days of Adam. The death of Adam. When Adam had lived 930 years, the day of his death drew near. Seth, Enosh, Cainan, and Mahalalel gathered around him, and he blessed them and prayed over them. Adam commanded Seth, saying, "Observe, my son, what I command thee this day. On the day of thy death, give this command to Enosh, and let him give it to Cainan, and Cainan to Mahalalel, and let it be handed down to all your generations. When I die, embalm me with myrrh, cassia, and stocks, and deposit my body in the cave of treasures. Whoever shall be left in the day when your departure from this land takes place shall carry my body with him and deposit it in the center of the earth. For in that place redemption shall be effected for me and for all my children. Be thou, O my son Seth, governor of the sons of thy people. Rule them purely and holily in the fear of God. Keep your offspring separate from the offspring of Cain, the murderer. When the report that Adam was dying became known, all his offspring gathered to him, Seth, Enosh, Canaan, Mahalalel, their wives, sons, and daughters, and Adam blessed them. Adam departed from this world on the 14th day of the moon, on the 6th day of the month of Nisan, at the 9th hour, on the eve of the Sabbath. At the same hour in which the Son of Man would one day deliver up his soul on the cross, Adam delivered up his soul to him who fashioned him. The burial of Adam. Seth embalmed Adam with myrrh, cassia, and stocked, as Adam had commanded. Adam's body was the first buried in the earth. Seth and his sons mourned for him 140 days. They carried Adam's body to the top of the mountain and buried it in the cave of treasures. After the burial, the children of Seth separated themselves from the children of Cain. Seth took Enosh, Canaan, Mahalalel, their wives and their children, and led them up into the glorious mountain where Adam was buried. Cain and his descendants remained below on the plain where Cain slew Abel. The rule of Seth. Seth became the governor of his people and ruled them in purity and holiness. Because of their purity they received the name the sons of God, they and their wives and their sons. They lived on the mountain in purity and in the fear of God. They went up to the skirts of the mountain of paradise and became praisers and glorifiers of God in the place of the host of devils who had fallen from heaven. They dwelt in peace and happiness. They had no anxiety, nothing to weary or trouble them, and nothing to do except praise and glorify God with the angels. They continually heard the voices of the angels singing praises in paradise, which was only 30 spans above them according to the measure of the Spirit. They suffered neither toil nor fatigue. They had neither seed time nor harvest, but fed on the delectable fruits of glorious trees of all kinds, and enjoyed the sweet scent of the breezes wafted to them from paradise. Those holy men lived in purity, and their wives were pure, and their sons were virtuous, and their daughters were chaste and undefiled. In them there was no rebellious thought, no envy, no anger, no enmity. In their wives and daughters there was no impure longing, neither lasciviousness nor cursing, nor was lying heard among them. The only oath they used in swearing was, by the blood of Abel. They and their wives and their children rose early in the morning and went up to the top of the holy mountain and worshipped before God. They were blessed by the body of Adam their father, and they lifted their eyes to paradise and praised God, and thus they lived all the days of their lives. The death of Seth. When Seth had lived 913 years, he became sick unto death. Enosh his son, Canaan, Mahalalel, Jared, Enoch, and their wives and sons gathered around him, and he blessed them. He prayed over them and commanded them, saying, I make you swear by the holy blood of Abel that none of you will go down from this holy mountain to the children of Cain the murderer. You know well the enmity that has existed between us and Cain from the day he slew Abel. Seth blessed Enosh his son, and gave him commands concerning the body of Adam, and made him ruler over the children of his people. Seth ruled them in purity and holiness, and ministered diligently before the body of Adam. Seth died when he was 912 years old, on the 27th day of the month of AB August, on the 2nd day of the week, at the 3rd hour, in the 20th year of the life of Enoch. Enosh, Seth's firstborn, embalmed him, and buried him in the cave of treasures beside Adam. They made mourning for him 40 days, the rule of Enosh. Enosh rose to minister before God in the cave of treasures. He became the governor of the children of his people, and kept all the commandments his father Seth had given him. He urged them to be constant in prayer. The death of Cain. In the days of Enosh, in his 820th year, Lamech the blind man killed Cain the murderer in the forest of Nod. Lamech was leaning on his son, and the youth guided his father's arm toward what he thought was game. Cain was wandering in the forest, unable to be still. Lamech drew his bow and shot an arrow, striking Cain between the eyes so that he died. When Lamech learned whom he had slain, he smote his hands together in grief, and struck the youth who guided him, killing him also. The death of Enosh. When Enosh had lived 905 years and was sick unto death, all the patriarchs gathered to him. Canaan his firstborn, Mahalalel, Jared, Enoch, and Methuselah, with their wives and sons. Enosh blessed them, prayed over them, and commanded them, I make you swear by the holy blood of Abel that none of you shall go down from this mountain to the plain, nor mingle with the encampment of the children of Cain. Take heed, for you know the enmity that has existed between us and them since the day Cain slew Abel. He blessed Canaan his son, and commanded him concerning the body of Adam, that he should minister before it all the days of his life, and rule the people in purity and holiness. Enosh died at the age of 905 years, on the 3rd day of the month of the first Tishrin, October, on the Sabbath day, in the 53rd year of the life of Methuselah. Canaan embalmed him and buried him in the cave of treasures with Adam and Seth, and they made mourning for him 40 days. Canaan was an honorable and pure man, and he governed the children of his people in the complete fear of God. He fulfilled all the commandments of Enosh his father. When Canaan had lived 920 years and was sick unto death, all the patriarchs gathered to him. Mahalalel his son, Jared, Enoch, Methuselah, and Lamech, they and their wives and their children, and they were blessed by him. He prayed over them and commanded them, saying, I make you swear by the holy blood of Abel, that not one of you shall go down from this holy mountain into the camp of the children of Cain the murderer. For you know well the enmity that has existed between us and them since the day he killed Abel. He blessed his son Mahalalel, and admonished him concerning the body of Adam, saying, Behold, my son Mahalalel, minister before God in purity and holiness in the cave of treasures, and depart not from the presence of the body of Adam all the days of your life. Be the governor of the children of your people, and rule them purely and holily. Canaan died, being 920 years old, on the 13th day of the month of Hezron, on the 4th day of the week at midday, in the 65th year of the life of Lamech, the father of Noah. Mahalalel embalmed him and buried him in the cave of treasures, and they made mourning for him 40 days, the rule of Mahalalel. Mahalalel rose up and ministered before God in the place of Canaan his father. He was constant in prayer by day and by night, and he urged the children of his people to observe holiness and purity, and to pray without ceasing. When Mahalalel had lived 895 years, and the day of his departure drew near, he was sick unto death. All the patriarchs gathered to him, Jared his firstborn, Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah, they and their wives and their children, and they were blessed by him. He prayed over them and commanded them, saying, I make you swear by the holy blood of Abel that not one of you shall go down from this holy mountain. You shall not permit any of your descendants to go down to the plain to the children of Cain the murderer, for you know the enmity that has existed between us and them since the day he slew Abel. He blessed Jared his firstborn, and commanded him concerning the body of Adam, revealing to him the place to which he must be ready to go. He made him swear an oath, saying, You shall not depart from the body of our father Adam all the days of your life. You shall be the governor of the children of your people, and rule them in chastity and holiness. Mahalalel died, being 895 years old, on the 2nd day of the month Nisan, on the 1st day of the week, at the 3rd hour of the day, in the 34th year of the life of Noah. Jared embalmed him and buried him in the cave of treasures, and the people made mourning for him 40 days. The rule of Jared. Jared rose up and ministered before God in the cave of treasures. He was a perfect man, complete in all virtues, and constant in prayer by day and by night. Because of the excellence of his life and conversation, his days were longer than those of all the children of his people. In the days of Jared, in the 500th year of his life, the children of Seth broke the oaths their fathers had made them swear. They began to go down from the holy mountain to the encampment of the children of Cain the murderer, and in this way the fall of the children of Seth took place. Satan invited Jared to come with him and live with him in the garden which he claimed God had given him, And at length, Jared was persuaded to leave the cave and go with him. When they arrived at the top of the mountain of the sons of Cain, Satan pretended that he had left a garment for Jared by the cave and sent one of his devils back to fetch it, telling him at the same time to extinguish the lamp which burned near Adam's body. Satan and Jared rested by a fountain, and food was brought to them by the sons and daughters of Cain, but Jared refused to eat or drink. Satan urged him to put aside his sadness and to do as he was doing. Then Satan and 5 of his devils seized a woman and each committed fornication with her. Seeing this display of iniquity, Jared burst into tears and prayed to God to deliver him from that place. When he began to pray, the devils fled, and God sent an angel who brought him back to the holy mountain. When he returned to the cave, his people told him that the lamp had been extinguished, that the bodies of the patriarchs had been scattered, and that voices had come from them. As he entered the cave, a voice came from Adam's body warning him to beware of Satan and his wiles, and telling him to relight the lamp from the fire on the altar at which Adam had ministered. The lamp was relit at the end of the 450th year of Jared's life. 80 years later, his people began to go down to the children of Cain and to mingle with their women. The first 1,000 years end. In the 40th year of Jared, the first 1,000 years from Adam to Jared came to an end. In these years, the craftsmen of sin and the disciples of Satan appeared, for he was their teacher. He entered into them and poured into them the spirit of error, through which the fall of the children of Seth would take place. The second 1,000 years, Jared to the flood. The invention of music, dancing, and corruption. Jubal and Tubal-Cain, the sons of Lamech, the blind man who killed Cain, invented and made all kinds of musical instruments. Jubal made reed instruments, harps, flutes, and whistles, and the devils went and dwelt inside them. When men blew into the pipes, the devils sang within them and sent out sounds. Tubal-Cain made cymbals, sistra, and tambourines. Lasciviousness and fornication increased among the children of Cain. They had no work, no tribute to pay, no prince or governor. Their lives were filled with eating, drinking, fornication, drunkenness, dancing, singing to instruments, the wanton sportings of devils, and the laughter that pleased the demons. The sounds of men neighing after women rose continually. Satan rejoiced greatly in this work of error, for through it he could compel the sons of Seth to come down from the holy mountain. There they had been placed in the stead of the angels who fell with Satan. There they were beloved by God, honored by the angels, and called sons of God, as David said, "I have said, ye are gods, and all of you sons of the Most High." Meanwhile, fornication reigned among the daughters of Cain. Women ran after men without shame. Men attacked one another. They committed fornication openly. All the devils were gathered in that camp, and unclean spirits entered into the women and possessed them. The old women were more lascivious than the maidens. Fathers and sons defiled themselves with the same women. Sons respected not their mothers, nor fathers their daughters. Satan was ruler of that camp. When the men and women were stirred to frenzy by the devilish music of reeds, harps, tambourines, and sistra, the sounds of their laughter rose into the air and reached the holy mountain. The fall of the children of Seth begins. When the children of Seth heard the noise, uproar, and laughter from the camp of the children of Cain, about 100 mighty men of war gathered together and prepared to go down to them. When Jared heard their intention, he was deeply afflicted. He called them and said, "By the holy blood of Abel, swear that none of you shall go down from this holy mountain. Remember the oaths which our fathers Seth, Enosh, Cainan, and Mahalalel made you swear." Enoch also said to them, "Hearken, O children of Seth, no man who transgresses the commandment of Jared and breaks the oaths of our fathers, and goes down from this mountain, shall ever again ascend it." The children of Seth would not hearken to the commandment of Jared nor to the words of Enoch. They dared to transgress the commandment, and those 100 men, who were mighty men of war, went down to the camp of Cain. When they saw that the daughters of Cain were beautiful in form, and naked and unashamed, the children of Seth were inflamed with the fire of lust. When the daughters of Cain saw the goodliness of the children of Seth, they seized them like ravening beasts and defiled their bodies. The children of Seth slew their souls by fornication with the daughters of Cain. When the children of Seth wished to go up again to the holy mountain after they had come down and fallen, The stones of the mountain became fire in their sight. Having defiled their souls with the fire of fornication, God did not permit them to ascend to that holy place. Many others made bold and went down after them, and they too fell. The leaders of those who went down taught them the arts of music, drunkenness, ornamentation, and war. Instruments of music were made, and devils entered into them. Men drank and fought and killed one another. The women dyed their garments in bright colors and adorned themselves with painted faces and tattooed limbs. The children of Seth were enticed by these things and went down company after company, until only Jared and a few others remained on the mountain. The daughters of Cain conceived by the watchers, and their children grew into giants of immense stature. These giants devoured the provisions of men, then fought against them, and at last ate the flesh and drank the blood of one another. Evil spirits proceeded from their bodies and remained on the earth, attacking the children of men and women. When Jared had lived 960 years and the day of his departure approached, all the patriarchs gathered to him, Enoch his firstborn, Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah, they and their wives and their children, and were blessed by him. He prayed over them and said, I make you swear by the holy blood of Abel that you will not go down from this holy mountain. I know that God will not allow you to remain much longer in this holy country. Because you have transgressed the commandment of your fathers, you shall surely be cast out into the outer country, and you shall no longer have your habitation on the skirts of paradise. Take good heed to this. Let him among you who shall go forth from this holy country take with him the body of our father Adam, and the offerings of gold, frankincense, and myrrh that are in the cave of treasures. Let him carry away and deposit the body in the place wherein he shall be commanded by God to set it down. And thou, my son Enoch, depart not from before the body of Adam, but minister before God purely and hollowly all the days of thy life. Jared died, being 962 years old, on the 13th day of the month of Iyar, on the eve of the Sabbath at sunset, in the 366th year of the life of Noah. Enoch his son embalmed him and buried him in the cave of treasures, and they made mourning for him 40 days. The rule of Enoch. Enoch stood up to minister before God in the cave of treasures. The children of Seth turned aside from the right path and desired to go down to the children of Cain on the plain. Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah mourned over them. Enoch ministered before God for 50 years in the 365th year of the life of Noah. When Enoch knew that God was about to remove him from the earth, he called Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah and said, I know that God is wroth with this generation, and that a pitiless judgment has been decreed for the people thereof. You, the chiefs of this generation, and the remnant thereof. For no other man shall be born on this mountain who shall be the chiefs of the children of his people. Take heed to yourselves, and see that you minister before God in purity and holiness. When Enoch had given them his commandment in these words, God removed him to the land of life, to the delectable mansions round about paradise, to that country which is beyond the reach of death. Of all the children of Seth, only these 3 patriarchs remained in the mountain of the triumphant ones, Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah. All the others had gone down to the encampment of the sons of Cain. Take good heed to this. Let him among you who shall go forth from this holy country take with him the body of our father Adam, and the offerings of gold, frankincense, and myrrh that are in the cave of treasures. Let him carry away and deposit the body in the place wherein he shall be commanded by God to set it down. And thou, my son Enoch, depart not from before the body of Adam, but minister before God purely and hollowly all the days of thy life. Jared died, being 962 years old, on the 13th day of the month of Iyar, on the eve of the Sabbath at sunset, in the 366th year of the life of Noah. Enoch his son embalmed him and buried him in the cave of treasures, and they made mourning for him 40 days. The rule of Enoch. Enoch stood up to minister before God in the cave of treasures. The children of Seth turned aside from the right path and desired to go down to the children of Cain on the plain. Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah mourned over them. Enoch ministered before God for 50 years in the 365th year of the life of Noah. When Enoch knew that God was about to remove him from the earth, he called Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah and said, "I know that God is wroth with this generation, and that a pitiless judgment has been decreed for the people thereof. You are the chiefs of this generation and the remnant thereof. For no other man shall be born on this mountain who shall be the chiefs of the children of his people. Take heed to yourselves, and see that you minister before God in purity and holiness." When Enoch had spoken these words, God removed him to the land of life, to the delectable mansions round about paradise, to that country which is beyond the reach of death. Of all the children of Seth, only Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah remained in the mountain of the triumphant ones, for all the others had gone down to the encampment of the sons of Cain, the rule of Noah. When Noah saw that sin had increased in his generation, he preserved himself in virginity for 500 years. Then God spoke to him and said, "Take to thyself a wife, Hachel, the daughter of Namas, the daughter of Enoch, the brother of Methuselah." God revealed to him concerning the flood which he was preparing, saying, 130 years from this moment, I will make a flood, the building of the ark. God said to Noah, "Make for thyself an ark for the saving of the children of thy house. Build it in the plain below this mountain, in the encampment of the children of Cain, and cut down the timber for it from the trees of this mountain. Its length shall be 300 cubits according to thy cubit, its breadth 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits. Above it shall be finished off 1 cubit. Make 3 stories in it, the lowest for wild animals and cattle, the middle for the birds and feathered fowl, and the topmost for thee and the children of thy house. Make cisterns for water and cupboards for food. Make for thyself a striking board of wood that will not rot, 3 cubits long and 1.5 cubits in breadth, and a hammer of the same wood. With it thou shalt strike the board 3 times a day, once in the morning to gather the workmen, once at midday that they may eat, and once at sunset that they may cease from their labor. When men hear the sound of the blows and say, What is this that thou doest? Thou shalt say, God is going to make a flood of waters. Noah did as God commanded. 3 sons were born to him within 100 years, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and they took wives from among the daughters of Methuselah. The death of Lamech. Lamech lived 770 years and died during the lifetime of Methuselah, 40 years before the flood, on the 21st day of the month of Elul, on the 1st day of the week, in the 68th year of the life of Shem. Noah embalmed him, and Methuselah swathed him for burial, and they buried him in the cave of treasures, mourning for him 40 days. The rule of Methuselah and Noah. Methuselah and Noah remained alone on the mountain, for all the children of Seth had gone down from the skirts of paradise to the plain where the children of Cain lived. The children of Seth had intercourse with the daughters of Cain, who conceived and brought forth men, giants and sons of giants, who were like towers. Some ancient writers erred and wrote that angels came down from heaven and had intercourse with women, and that giants were born from them. But this is not true, for beings of the Spirit do not beget, nor do devils, who are unclean beings and lovers of wickedness, beget, for there are neither males nor females among them. If devils could have intercourse with women, they would not leave a single virgin undefiled among the children of men. The death of Methuselah. When Methuselah had lived 969 years, and the day of his departure drew near, Noah, Shem, Ham, Japheth, and their wives came to him. Of all the posterity of Seth who had not gone down to the plain, only these 8 souls remained, for no children had been born to them before the flood. Methuselah blessed them, embraced them, and wept over the fall of the children of Seth. He said, Of all the tribes and families of your fathers, this remnant of 8 souls alone is left. May the Lord God of our fathers bless you, the Lord God who formed Adam and Eve, and who made them fruitful so that the whole land around paradise was filled with their progeny, shall make you fruitful and multiply you, and the whole earth shall be filled with you. He shall save you from the terrible wrath decreed against this rebellious generation, and he shall be with you and protect you. and the gift which God gave to our father Adam shall go forth with you from this holy country. These 3 measures of wheat which God gave to Adam shall serve as leaven, and shall be kneaded into your seed and into the seed of your children, that is to say, royalty, priesthood, and prophecy. Hearken, Noah, thou blessed of the Lord. Behold, I am going forth from this world like all my fathers, but thou and thy children shall be saved. Thou shalt do everything which I command thee this day, for God will make the flood. When I die, embalm my body and bury me in the cave of treasures with my fathers. Take thy wife and thy sons and the wives of thy sons, and go down from this holy mountain. Take with thee the body of our father Adam, and these 3 offerings, gold, myrrh, and frankincense. Set the body of Adam in the middle of the ark, and lay these offerings on him. Thou and thy sons shall dwell in the eastern part of the ark, and thy wife and thy sons' wives shall dwell in the western part. They shall not pass over to you, and ye shall not pass over to them. Ye shall neither eat nor drink with them, nor have any intercourse whatsoever with them, until ye go forth from the ark. This generation hath provoked God to wrath, and will not permit them to be neighbors of paradise, nor to praise him with the angels. And when the waters of the flood have subsided from the face of the earth, and ye go forth from the ark, and take up your abode in that land, thou, O Noah, blessed of the Lord, shalt not depart from the ark, nor from the body of our father Adam, but shalt minister before God in purity and holiness all the days of thy life. These offerings shall be placed in the east. Command Shem, thy firstborn, that after thy death he shall take up the body of our father Adam and carry it to the middle of the earth, and deposit it there. Let him appoint from among his descendants a man who shall minister there, one who is set apart all the days of his life. He shall not take a wife. He shall not shed blood. He shall not offer the flesh of animals or birds, but shall offer unto God bread and wine. For by these redemption shall be made for Adam and all his posterity. The angel of God shall go before him, and show him the place where the middle of the earth is. The apparel of him who ministers before the body of Adam shall be the skins of wild animals. He shall not shave his head nor cut his nails, but shall remain alone, for he is the priest of God, the Most High. When Methuselah had commanded Noah in these words, he died with tears in his eyes and sorrow in his heart. He was 969 years old when he died, on the 14th day of the month Adar, in the 79th year of the life of Shem. Noah embalmed the body of Methuselah with myrrh, cassia, and stacte, and he and his sons buried him in the cave of treasures. They and their wives mourned for him 40 days. When the days of mourning had passed, Noah went into the cave of treasures and embraced and kissed the holy bodies of Seth, Enosh, Cainan, Malaleel, Jared, Methuselah, and Lamech his father. He was greatly moved, and tears gushed from his eyes. Noah carried the body of Adam and the body of Eve. Shem carried the gold, Ham the myrrh, and Japheth the frankincense, and they went forth from the cave of treasures. As they descended from the holy mountain, they were smitten with grief and wept in agony because they were to be deprived of that holy place and the habitation of their fathers. Weeping painfully and wailing sorrowfully, they said, "Remain in peace, O holy paradise, habitation of our father Adam. He went forth from thee alive, but stripped of glory and naked. And behold, at his death he was deprived of thy nearness. He and his progeny were cast out into exile in that land of curses, to pass their days in pain, sickness, labor, weariness, and trouble. Remain in peace, O cave of treasures. Remain in peace, O habitation and inheritance of our fathers. Remain in peace, O our fathers and patriarchs. Pray for us, O ye who dwell in the dust, ye friends and beloved ones of the living God. Pray for the remnant of your posterity which is left. O ye who have propitiated God, make supplication for us in your prayers. Remain in peace, O Enosh. Remain in peace, O ministers of God. Cainan, Malaleel, Jared, Methuselah, Lamech, and Enoch. Cry out in sorrow on our behalf. Remain in peace, O haven and asylum of the angels. O our fathers, cry out in sorrow for us. For ye will be deprived of our company, and we shall be cast out into a bare land, and our habitation shall be with the wild beasts." As they were coming down from that holy mountain, they kissed its stones and embraced its delectable trees. In this manner they descended, weeping with great sorrow, shedding bitter tears, and suffering sorely as they went down to the plain. Noah entered the ark and placed the body of Adam in its center, and he laid the offerings upon it. In the year when Noah entered the ark, the posterity of Adam from the 2,000 years came to an end. Noah's entry into the ark. Noah entered the ark on the eve of the Sabbath, on the 17th day of the month of Iyar. In the morning, at the 3rd hour, the beasts and cattle went into the lowest story. At midday, all the birds and reptiles entered the middle story. At sunset, Noah and his sons entered the ark on the east side of the upper story, and his wife and the wives of his sons entered on the west side. The body of Adam was placed in the middle of the ark, wherein also were deposited all the mysteries of the church. Thus, in the church, women shall be on the west side and men on the east side, so that neither sees the face of the other. So it was in the ark, the women on the west, the men on the east, and the body of Adam between them like a raised throne. As peace reigns in the church between men and women, so peace reigned in the ark between wild beasts, birds, and creeping things. Lions and panthers lived in harmony with cattle, the fierce with the timid, the lion with the ox, the wolf with the lamb, the lion's whelp with the calf, the serpent with the dove, and the hawk with the sparrow. The flood begins. When Noah and his family had entered the ark at sunset, the door was shut fast, and they were enclosed in darkness. Immediately the floodgates of heaven were opened. The foundations of the earth were rent asunder, and the great ocean that surrounds the world poured forth its floods. The storehouses of the winds burst open, storms and whirlwinds swept forth, and the ocean roared and hurled its waters upon the earth. The children of Seth, who had defiled themselves in the mire of fornication, ran to the door of the ark and begged Noah to open it. When they saw the waters swirling around them and engulfing them on every side, they were in great tribulation. They tried to climb the mountains of paradise, but could not. The ark was sealed, and the angel of the Lord stood over it as its pilot. When the waters mastered the children of Seth, and they began to drown in the mighty waves, the word of David was fulfilled. I said, "Ye are gods, and all of you sons of the Most High. But since ye have done this, and have loved the fornication of the daughters of Cain, like them ye shall perish, and even as they did so shall ye die." The ark was lifted up from the earth by the strength of the waters, and all the children of men, the wild beasts, the birds, the cattle, the creeping things, and every living thing on the face of the earth was drowned. The waters of the flood mounted up above all the high mountains, 15 cubits according to the measure of the Spirit. The flood waxed strong, and the waters lifted up the ark until it reached the skirts of paradise. And because the flood had been blessed by paradise, it bowed its head and kissed the skirts of paradise, then turned back to destroy the whole earth. The ark flew on the wings of the wind over the waters of the flood, from east to west and from north to south, and by its path it marked out the form of a cross upon the waters. It flew about for 150 days, and came to rest on the mountains of Karda, in the 7th month, the 1st Teshri, on the 17th day. God commanded the waters, and they separated from each other. The celestial waters ascended to their place above the heavens. The waters that had risen from beneath returned to the lowermost abyss. The waters of the ocean returned to their innermost parts, and the waters assigned to the earth from the beginning remained upon it. The waters diminished little by little until the 10th month, Shebat, and on the 1st day of that month, the top of the mountains appeared. 40 days later, on the 10th day of Adar, Noah opened the east window of the ark and sent forth a raven. It departed and did not return. Noah then sent forth the dove, but it found no place to rest and returned to him. After 7 days he sent forth another dove, and it returned carrying an olive leaf in its beak. The dove signified the 2 covenants. In the first covenant the Spirit found no rest among the rebellious people, but in the second covenant it rested upon the peoples through the waters of baptism. Noah leaves the ark. In the 601st year of Noah's life, on the 1st day of Nisan, the waters dried from the face of the earth. In the 2nd month, Iyar, on the 27th day, on the 1st day of the week, Noah and his wife went forth, and his sons and their wives with them. When they entered the ark, they entered separately, Noah and his sons in one company, his wife and his sons' wives in another. And the men did not know the women until they went forth from the ark. All the wild beasts, cattle, birds, and creeping things went forth on the first day of the week, the city of Themanan. When they had gone forth, Noah began to work the ground, and they built a city and called its name Themanan, 8, after the 8 souls who had come out of the ark. Noah built an altar and offered upon it an offering of clean beasts and clean birds. God was appeased by Noah's offering and established with him an everlasting covenant, saying, "I will never again make a flood." He took away the arrow of wrath from the bow in the clouds, stripped from it the sting of anger, and spread it out unbent in the heavens. For formerly, when the bow was bent against the generation of the children of Cain, they saw the arrow of wrath set upon the string of anger. But after the flood, the arrow was no longer seen upon the bow. Noah plants a vineyard. When they had gone forth from the ark, they sowed seed and planted a vineyard. They pressed out new wine, and Noah drank of it. When he had drunk, he became drunk and fell asleep, and his shame was uncovered. Ham saw the nakedness of his father and did not cover it. Instead he laughed and mocked him, and called his brothers to mock also. But Shem and Japheth were exceedingly dismayed. They rose up, took a cloak, and walked backward with their faces turned away so that they would not see their father's nakedness, and they covered him. When Noah awoke from the sleep of his wine, his wife told him all that had happened, and he also knew within himself what had been done to him. Noah was exceedingly angry with his son Ham, and he said, "Cursed be Canaan, he shall be a servant of servants to his brethren." Why, since the folly was Ham's, was Canaan cursed? Because when the youth grew up and attained the full measure of his understanding, Satan entered into him and became his teacher of sin. He renewed the work of the house of Cain the murderer. He constructed reed instruments and harps, and the fiends and devils went into them and dwelt therein. When wind was blown through the reeds, the devils sang inside them and sent forth loud sounds, and when men struck the harps, the devils became active within them. When Noah heard that Canaan had done this, he was grieved sorely, for the work of error through which the children of Seth had fallen was renewed. Through singing, lewd play, and the mad lasciviousness of the children of Cain, Satan had cast down the mighty ones, the sons of God, into fornication. Through the music of reed pipes and harps, sin multiplied among the former generations, until God became wroth and made the flood. Canaan was cursed, because he dared to do this, and his seed became a servant of servants. To the Egyptians, the Cushites, the Mysians, the Indians, and all the Ethiopians, whose skins are black. And because Ham mocked his father, he was called vile all the days of his life. Noah, in his lying down in drunken sleep, symbolized the cross of Christ, as David sang, "Wake up, Lord, like a sleeping man, and like a man whom wine has overcome." Let the heretics who say God was crucified be silent. David called him Lord, even as Peter said, "This Jesus, whom ye crucified, hath God made Lord and Messiah." He did not say God, but Lord, making known the unity of the two persons who were united in one sonship. When Noah awoke, he cursed Canaan and reduced his seed to slavery, scattering them among the nations. And when our Lord rose from the dead, he cursed the Jews and scattered them among the nations. The seed of Canaan are the Egyptians, and they are scattered over the whole earth and have been made servants of servants. They go about carrying loads on their backs, wandering to the doors of the children of their brethren. The seed of Ham was reduced, through the folly of Canaan, to suffer this penalty, to become servants even to servants, the death of Noah. Noah lived 350 years after he came forth from the ark. When he was sick unto death, Shem, Ham, Japheth, Arphaxad, and Salah gathered around him. Noah called Shem, his firstborn, and said to him privately, "Take heed, my son Shem, to what I say unto thee this day. When I am dead, go into the ark wherein thou hast been saved, and bring out the body of our father Adam. Let no man know what thou doest. Take with thee provision for the way, bread and wine, and take with thee Melchizedek, the son of Malach, for him hath God chosen from among all your descendants to minister before him in respect of the body of our father Adam. And take the body and place it in the center of the earth, and set Melchizedek there. The angel of God shall go before you, and show you the way wherein you shall go, and the place wherein the body of Adam shall be deposited, which is indeed the center of the earth. There the four quarters of the earth embrace each other. For when God made the earth, his power went before it, and the earth from its four quarters ran after it like the winds and the swift breezes. And there, in the center of the earth, his power stood still and was motionless. There shall redemption be made for Adam and for all his posterity. This mystery was handed down from Adam in all generations. Adam commanded Seth, Seth commanded Enosh, Enosh commanded Cainan, Cainan commanded Malaleel, Malaleel commanded Jared, Jared commanded Enoch, Enoch commanded Methuselah, Methuselah commanded Lamech, and behold, I command thee this day. Take heed that this story is never mentioned again in all your generations. Arise, take the body of Adam, and deposit it secretly in the place God shall show thee, until the day of redemption. When Noah had given all these commands to Shem, he died, being 950 years old, in the month of Iyar, on the second day thereof, at the second hour of the first day of the week. Shem embalmed him and buried him in the city he had built, and they mourned for him 40 days. Shem departs with the body of Adam. After the death of Noah, Shem did as his father commanded. He went into the ark by night, brought out the body of Adam, and sealed the ark with his father's seal, so that no man perceived what he had done. He called Ham and Japheth and said, My brethren, my father commanded me to go up and travel over the earth, even to the sea, and to see what the rivers are like, and then return to you. My wife and the children of my house are with you. Let your eyes be upon them. His brothers urged him to take a company of men, for the land was a desert waste filled with wild beasts. But Shem said, The angel of the Lord shall go with me and save me from every evil thing. And they blessed him. Shem said to Malach, the father of Melchizedek, and to Yozadok his mother, Give me Melchizedek, that he may go with me and be a consolation on the road. And they said, Take him, and go in peace. Shem warned his brothers, My father made me swear that neither I nor any of your descendants shall go into the ark. And he sealed it with his seal, saying, Let no man go near it. The journey to Golgotha. Shem took the body of Adam and Melchizedek and went forth by night. The angel of the Lord appeared and went before them, strengthening them so that their journey was swift. They arrived at Golgotha, the center of the earth. The angel showed Shem the place. Shem laid the body of Adam upon it, and the four quarters of the earth separated themselves from each other. The earth opened in the form of a cross, and Shem and Melchizedek placed the body of Adam within the cavity. Immediately the four quarters drew together and enclosed the body, and the door of the created world was shut fast. That place was called Karkafta, skull, because the head of all the children of men was laid there. It was called Golgotha, because it was round like a skull, Resifta, because the head of the accursed serpent was crushed there, and Gabbatha, because all nations were to be gathered there. Shem laid the body of Adam in the coffin he had made, and shut the door of the ark. Melchizedek was 15 years old when he set out with Shem. When they arrived at the center of the earth, the voice of Adam told Shem that they had reached the place. As soon as the coffin touched the rock split open to receive it. On the following morning, Melchizedek built an altar of 12 stones and offered upon it the bread and wine which Shem had brought. Shem's commands to Melchizedek. Shem said to Melchizedek, Thou shalt be the priest of the Most High God, for God hath chosen thee alone to minister before him in this place. Thou shalt dwell here continually, and shalt not depart from this place all the days of thy life. Thou shalt not take a wife. Thou shalt not shave thy head. Thou shalt not pour out blood in this place. Thou shalt not offer wild beasts nor birds, but shalt offer bread and wine always. Thou shalt not build a house in this place, and the angel of the Lord shall come down to thee and visit thee continually. Shem embraced and kissed Melchizedek, blessed him, and returned to his brethren. Malach and Yozadok, the parents of Melchizedek, said to Shem, Where is the young man? And Shem said, He died on the journey, and I buried him there. and they mourned for him greatly. The generations of Shem. Shem lived 600 years and died. Arphaxad, his son, and Salah and Eber buried him. Arphaxad was 35 years old when he begot Salah. All the days of his life were 438 years, and he died. Salah and Eber and Peleg buried him in the city he built after his own name. Salah was 30 years old when he begot Eber. All the days of his life were 433 years, and he died. Eber, Peleg, Ru, and Serug buried him in the city he built after his own name. Eber was 34 years old when he begot Peleg. All the days of his life were 464 years, and he died. Peleg, Aryu, and Serug buried him in the city he built after his own name. Peleg was 30 years old when he begot Raju. All the days of his life were 239 years, and he died. The migration to the land of Shinar. In the days of Peleg, all the tribes and families of the children of Noah gathered together and went up from the east. They found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. From Adam until this time they were all of one speech and one language. They all spoke the Syrian tongue, which is Aramaic, the king of all languages. The Tower of Babel. In the days of Peleg, the tower in Babel was built, and there the tongues of men were confounded. From that place they were scattered over the face of all the earth, and the place was called Babel, because the tongues were confounded there. After the division of tongues, Peleg died in great sorrow, with tears in his eyes and grief in his heart, because in his days the earth was divided. His son Ru and Serug and Nahor buried him in Pelegin, the city he had built after his own name. There were 72 tongues in the earth, and 72 heads of tribes, and each tribe and tongue made for themselves a chief, like a king. The posterity of Japheth. The seed of Japheth became 37 nations and kingdoms: Gomer, Javan, Madai, Tubal, Meshech, Tiras, and all the kingdoms of the Alans. These are the children of Japheth. The sons of Ham were Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan, and all their descendants. The sons of Shem were Elam, Assur, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram, and all their descendants. The children of Japheth held the borders of the east, from the mountain of Nod to the Tigris and the northern regions, and from Bactria as far as Gadara. The children of Shem held the middle of the earth, from Persia in the east to the western sea, and they possessed sovereignty and dominion therein. The children of Ham occupied the southern regions and part of the west. The days of Raju. Raju lived 32 years and begot Serug. In the 130th year of Rau, Nimrod the mighty man reigned, the first king on the earth, and he reigned 69 years. The beginning of his kingdom was Babel. Nimrod saw the figure of a crown in the heavens, and he called Sison the weaver, who made a crown like it, and he set it on his head. Because of this, men said that the crown had come down to him from heaven. In the days of Rau, the 3,000 years came to an end. The 4,000 years, Reu to the 26th year of Ehud. In the days of Reu, the Egyptians appointed their first king, Puntos, who reigned over them 68 years. In the days of Reu, kings also reigned in Sheba, in Ophir, and in Havilah. In Sheba, 60 queens ruled in succession, for women reigned there for many years until the days of Solomon, the son of David. The children of Ophir appointed Lapharon to be their king, and he built Ophir with stones of gold, for all the stones of Ophir were gold. The children of Havilah appointed Havel to be their king, and he built Havilah, which is India. Reu died at 239 years of age, and Serug his son, and Nahor, and Terah buried him in Auran, the city he had built after his own name. Serug lived 30 years and begot Nahor. All the days of his life were 230 years. In the days of Serug, the worship of idols entered the world. The children of men began to make graven images, for they were scattered over the earth and had neither teachers nor lawgivers, and no one to show them the way of truth. Because of this they became confused and fell into error. Some worshipped the heavens, some the sun, the moon, and the stars. Some worshipped the earth, wild beasts, birds, creeping things, trees, stones, the creatures of the sea, and the winds. Satan had blinded their eyes so they might walk in the darkness of error, for they had no hope of the resurrection. When one of them died, they made an image of him and set it upon his grave so that his remembrance might not pass from before their eyes. Error spread over all the earth, and the land became filled with idols in the form of men and women. Serug died at 230 years of age, and Nahor and Terah and Abraham buried him in Sargon, the city he had built after his own name. Nahor was 29 years old when he begot Terah. In the 70th year of his life, when God looked upon the children of men and saw that they worshipped idols, a great earthquake took place, and all their houses were overturned. But the people did not understand. Instead, they added to their wickedness. Nahor died at 147 years of age, and Terah and Abraham buried him. Terah was 75 years old when he begot Abraham. Sorcery appears in the earth. In the days of Terah, in his 90th year, sorcery appeared on the earth in the city of Ur, which Horon the son of Eber had built. There was in that city a certain rich man who died at that time. His son made an image of him in gold and set it upon his grave, and appointed a young man to guard it. Satan entered the image and spoke to the youth in the voice of his father. Thieves came and plundered the youth's house, and he went out to his father's tomb weeping. Satan spoke to him from the image, saying, "Weep not before me. Go and bring thy little son, and slay him here as a sacrifice to me, and all that thou hast lost shall be restored." The youth did as Satan commanded. He slew his son and bathed in his blood. Satan then went forth from the image and entered into the youth, teaching him sorcery, enchantments, divination, the lore of the Chaldeans, the telling of fortunes, and the foretelling of destinies. From that time the children of men began to sacrifice their sons to devils and to worship idols. For the devils entered into the images and dwelt in them. The wind flood. In the 100th year of Nahor's life, when God saw that men were sacrificing their sons to devils and worshipping idols, he opened the storehouses of the winds and the gate of the whirlwind. A blast of wind went forth over all the earth. It uprooted the images and the places where offerings were made to devils. It swept together the idols, the images, and the pillared temples, and piled great mounds of earth over them. These mounds remain to this day. Learned men call this the wind flood, but some have erred, saying these mounds existed in the days of the flood of waters. They speak falsely, for before the flood there were no idols in the earth, and the flood came not because of idols, but because of the fornication of the daughters of Cain. At that time there were no men on this earth, which was a waste and a desert. Our fathers had been cast forth long before, as into exile, because they were not worthy to be neighbors of paradise. Through the ark they were driven to the mountains of Cardu, and from there they were scattered over all the earth. These mounds came into being because of idols, and in them are buried the idols of that time. All the devils who dwelt in them are in these mounds, and there is no mound that does not contain devils. In the days of Nimrod the mighty man, a fire appeared which ascended from the earth. Nimrod went down, looked upon it, and worshipped it. He appointed priests to minister before it and to cast incense into it. From that day the Persians began to worship fire, and they do so to this day. Sisan the king found a spring of water in Dragon, and he made a white horse and set it over the spring. Those who bathed in the water worshipped the horse, and from that time the Persians began to worship the horse. Nimrod went to Yokdora of Nod, and when he arrived at the lake of Atris, he found there Yonton, the son of Noah. Nimrod bathed in the lake and came to Yonton and did homage to him. Yonton said, "Thou art a king, why dost thou do homage unto me?" And Nimrod said, "It is because of thee that I have come down here." Nimrod remained with Yonton for 3 years. Yonton taught him wisdom and the art of revelation, and said to him, "Come not back again to me." When Nimrod went up from the east and began to practice divination, many men marveled at him. When Idhashir, the priest who ministered to the fire that ascended from the earth, saw that Nimrod practiced exalted arts, he entreated the devil who appeared in the fire to teach him the wisdom of Nimrod. The devil said, "A man cannot become a priest and a Magian until he has known carnally his mother, his daughter, and his sister. Idhashir did this." From that time the priests, the Magians, and the Persians took their mothers, sisters, and daughters to wife. Idashir was the first to study the signs of the zodiac, omens of luck and fate, the motions of the eyes and eyelids, and all the arts of the Chaldeans. All this learning is the error of devils, and those who practice it shall receive with the devils the doom of the judgment. Because the art of divination used by Nimrod was taught to him by Yanton, none of the Orthodox doctors suppressed it. Some even practiced it. The Persians call it Geliana, revelation, and the Romans call it astromion, astronomy. But the astrology of the Magians is sorcery and the teaching of devils. Some say it teaches concerning luck and future events, but they are in error. Nimrod built strong cities in the east, Babel, Nineveh, Rasan, Seleucia, Ctesiphon, and Adorbagan, and he made 3 fortresses. The history of Abraham. Terah, the father of Abraham, lived 250 years, and he died. And Abraham and Lot buried him in Haran. There God spoke to Abraham, saying, "Get thee forth from thy land and from among thy people, and come to the land which I will show thee." Abraham took his household, Sarah his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and went up to the land of the Amorites. He was 75 years old when he crossed the desert from the Euphrates. He was 80 years old when he pursued the kings and rescued Lot. When Abraham was a boy, he had no belief in idols. His father sent him to sell idols, but Abraham said, "These are not gods that can deliver." He carried the idols to sell them, but said to the people, "Do ye wish to buy goods that cannot deliver? Things made of wood, stone, iron, and brass, which the hand of an artificer hath made?" The people refused to buy them because Abraham himself defamed them. As he returned, he set the images down and said to them, "I wonder if ye are able to do what I ask. Can ye give me bread to eat or water to drink?" They answered nothing, for they were stone and wood. He reviled them, struck one in the face, kicked another, and shattered a third with stones. "If ye cannot save yourselves from him that buffets you, how can ye be called gods? Those who worship you do so in vain. I utterly despise you, and ye shall not be my gods." Then he turned his face to the east, stretched out his hands, and said, "Be thou my God, O Lord, creator of the heavens and the earth, creator of the sun and moon, creator of the sea and the dry land, maker of all that is visible and invisible. Be thou my God. I place my trust in thee, and from this day forth I will trust in no other." A chariot of fire appeared, blazing, and Abraham fell on his face. God said to him, "Fear not, stand upright." On the day of Abraham's birth, the house shone with a bright light. Many fell down, and a voice cried, "Woe is me! For he who shall crush my kingdom is born." Some said, "Kill this child at once," for they knew grace would be given to him. But God placed mercy in the heart of Terah, and he refused. Abraham was reared, and he was circumcised by the hands of Gabriel and Michael. The name of Melchizedek's father is not written in the genealogies, because Matthew and Luke recorded only the chief fathers, the patriarchs. For this reason, neither the name of his father nor the name of his mother is known. The apostle did not say he had no parents, but only that they were not written down. King Kamres. In the 100th year of Abraham, there was a king in the east whose name was Kamres. He built Shemesht after the name of his son Shemeshto, and Claudia after the name of his daughter Khaled, and Piran after the name of his son Paran. Nimrod founds Nisibis, Haran, and Edessa. In the 50th year of Ra'u, Nimrod went up and built Nisibis, Edessa, and Haran. Haranith, the wife of Dasan, the priest of the mountain, surrounded Haran with a wall, and the people made a statue of her and worshipped her. Baltan, who was given to Tammuz, because Belshaman loved her and Tammuz fled before him, set fire to Haran and burned it the death of Sarah. When Sarah, the wife of Abraham, died, Abraham took to wife Kinterah, the daughter of Baktor, king of the desert. She bore him Zamran, Yakshan, Madon, Midian, Ashbak, and Shok. From these were sprung the Arabs, Isaac and Rebekah. When Isaac was 40 years old, Eliezer, a son of Abraham's household, went to the east and brought Rebekah. Isaac took her to wife. When Abraham died, Isaac buried him beside Sarah. When Isaac was 60 years old, Rebekah conceived Esau and Jacob. Being sorely afflicted, she went to Melchizedek, and he prayed over her, saying, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 peoples shall go forth from thy loins. One shall be stronger than the other, and the elder shall be in subjection to the younger. Thus Esau would be in subjection to Jacob, the founding of Jericho. In the 67th year of Isaac, Jericho was built by 7 kings, the king of the Hittites, the Amorites, the Girgastes, the Jebusites, the Canaanites, the Hivites, and the Perizzites. Each surrounded it with a wall. The son of Mizraim, king of Egypt, had founded Jericho in ancient times. Ishmael made a hand mill in the desert, a mill of slavery, Jacob's ladder. In the 103rd year of Isaac, Jacob, being 40 years old, received the blessing of his father and went into the desert of Beersheba. He lay down to sleep and took a stone for a pillow. He dreamed, and behold, a ladder was set upon the earth, and its top reached the heavens. The angels of God were ascending and descending, and the Lord stood above it. Jacob awoke and said, "This is truly the house of God." He took the stone, set it up as an altar, and anointed it with oil, vowing to tithe all he had. The ladder symbolized the cross of the Redeemer. The angels ascending and descending symbolized the ministers of Zechariah and Mary, the Magi, and the shepherds. The Lord standing above symbolized Christ upon the cross, descending to redeem mankind. The stone was a type of the altar, and the oil a type of the holy anointing. Jacob and the mystery of baptism. After God showed Jacob the cross, the church, the altar, and the offerings, Jacob went down to the east that God might show him baptism. He saw 3 flocks of sheep lying by a well, and a great stone upon its mouth. Jacob rolled away the stone and watered the sheep of his mother's brother, and afterward kissed Rachel. The well symbolized baptism, hidden from the generations of men. The 3 flocks symbolized 3 groups who come to baptism: men, women, and children. Jacob did not embrace Rachel until the stone was rolled away and the flocks were watered, just as the sons of the church do not embrace the Lamb of Christ until baptism opens the way. Jacob served Laban 7 years, yet the woman he loved was not given to him. So also the Jews served Pharaoh in bondage, yet the covenant of the church, the bride of Christ, was not given to them, but the old and worn-out covenant. Leah, the first wife, had weak eyes. Rachel's eyes were beautiful. The first covenant was veiled. The second is full of light, Jacob's sons and the death of Isaac. Jacob was 77 years old when he received Isaac's blessing, and 89 when he begot Reuben by Leah, the sons of Jacob. By Leah, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun. By Rachel, Joseph, Benjamin. By Zilpah, Leah's handmaid, Gad, Asher. By Bilhah, Rachel's handmaid, Dan, Naphtali. After 20 years, Jacob returned to Isaac his father. All the days of Isaac were 180 years, until the 31st year of the life of Levi, and he died in the 120th year of Jacob's life. 23 years after Jacob went up from Haran, Joseph was sold to the Midianites. He was sold during the lifetime of Isaac, and they mourned for him. When Isaac died, Jacob and Esau buried him with Abraham and Sarah. 7 years later, Rebekah died and was buried with them, and Rachel also died and was buried there. Judah, the son of Jacob, took to wife Shua the Canaanite woman, and Jacob was grieved because Judah had taken a woman of the seed of Canaan. Jacob said to Judah, "May the Lord God of our fathers Abraham and Isaac not permit the seed of Canaan to be mingled with our families." There were born to Judah by Shua 3 sons, Onan, and Shelah. Judah took Tamar as a wife for Er, his firstborn, but Er acted wickedly, and God put him to death. Judah then gave Tamar to Onan, but Onan wasted his seed, and God put him to death also. Thus God did not permit the seed of Canaan to mingle with the seed of Jacob. For Jacob had prayed that the seed of Canaan, the firstborn of the lascivious Ham, might not be mingled among the generations of the fathers. God caused Tamar to go out and sit by the roadside, and Judah lay with her in the passion of fornication. She conceived and bore Perez and Zerah, Jacob in Egypt. Jacob and all his descendants went down into Egypt to Joseph, and he lived there 17 years. Jacob died at 140 years of age, and Joseph was 56 years old when his father died. The wise physicians of Pharaoh embalmed Jacob, and Joseph carried him up and buried him with Abraham and Isaac. The genealogies of the tribes and the children of Israel. Some doctors trace the genealogies of the tribes from the death of Jacob and mix them together, but not with understanding. They place side by side the genealogies of the tribes and the genealogies of the children of Israel, though these became mingled only after they went forth from Egypt. Judah begot Perez. Perez begot Hezron. Hezron begot Ram. Ram begot Amminadab. Amminadab begot Nahshon, who became prince of Judah. Amminadab gave his daughter, the sister of Nahshon, to Eleazar the son of Aaron the priest. Of her was born Phinehas, the great priest who prayed, and the plague was stayed. Thus from Amminadab the priesthood of Israel was transmitted through the sister of Nahshon, and the kingdom through Nahshon himself. The priesthood and the kingdom were both transmitted through Judah. Nahshon begot Salmon. Salmon begot Boaz. The kingdom went forth from Boaz and Ruth the Moabitess. For the old man Boaz took Ruth to wife, so that Lot, the son of Abraham's brother, might have a share in the royal succession. God did not deprive the righteous Lot of reward, for he suffered exile with Abraham and received the angels of God in peace. That Lot might not be reviled because he slept with his daughters. God ordained that the royal line would be preserved through both daughters, and that Christ would be born of the seed of Lot and Abraham. From Ruth came Obed. From Obed came Jesse. From Jesse came David. From David came Solomon. These are the descendants of Ruth the Moabitess, daughter of Lot, from Naamah the Ammonitess, another daughter of Lot, whom Solomon took to wife, was born Rehoboam, who reigned after Solomon. Solomon married many wives, 700 freeborn women and 300 concubines. Yet of all these, he had no son except from Naamah the Ammonitess. God did not give him sons from the others, so that the wicked seed of the Canaanites, Jebusites, Amorites, Hittites, and Girgashites, peoples whom God hated, might not be mingled in the genealogy of Jesus Christ. The chiefs of Israel born in Egypt. The succession of the chiefs of Israel is this: Levi, Amram, Moses, Joshua the son of Nun, Caleb the son of Jephunneh. These were born in Egypt. Moses was the son of Amram, the son of Kohath, the son of Levi. His mother was Jochebed. When Moses was born, he was cast into the river, and Shiphrah, the Egyptian woman, the daughter of Pharaoh, took him up. He lived in the house of Pharaoh for 40 years. Then he killed Pethcom, the Egyptian chief of Pharaoh's bakers. This became known in Pharaoh's house after Pharaoh's daughter Makri, called Trumpet of Egypt, had died. Moses was afraid and fled to Midian, to Royal the Cushite, the priest of Midian. Moses took Zipporah, the Cushite woman, daughter of the priest, and she bore him 2 sons, Gershom and Eleazar. In the 2nd year of Moses' life, Joshua the son of Nun was born in Egypt. Moses was 80 years old when God spoke to him from the bush, and because of fear his tongue halted, as he said, "Behold, my Lord, from the day thou didst speak to me, I have been slow of tongue." Moses lived 40 years in Egypt, 40 years in the house of the priest of Midian, and 40 years governing the people. He died at 120 years on Mount Nebo. The rod of Moses. Adam cut the rod from a branch of the tree of good and evil in paradise and used it all his life. It passed to Abraham, who smashed his father's idols with it. It went with him to Egypt. When it came to Jacob, he used it as a shepherd's staff. Judah received it and gave it to Tamar. Then an angel laid it up in the cave of treasures until Midian was built. An angel showed Jethro the cave, and he took the rod from it. From him it went of its own will to Moses. The rod became a serpent and swallowed the rod of the sorceress. Joshua carried it into the promised land, and Phinehas hid it in the dust at the gate of Jerusalem, where it remained until Christ revealed it to Joseph, who took it to Egypt and brought it back to Nazareth. It passed to James, the brother of the Lord, but was stolen by Judas Iscariot, who gave it to the Jews who crucified Christ. To them it became judgment and downfall. The successors of Moses. Joshua the son of Nun governed Israel for 27 years. After Joshua, Chushan the wicked ruled over the people for 80 years. Othniel, the son of Kenaz, brother of Caleb, ruled Israel for 40 years. Then Israel was in subjection to the Moabites for 18 years. Ehud, the son of Jerah, ruled Israel for 80 years. In the 26th year of his life, the 4,000 years came to an end, the 5,000 years. From the 26th year of Ehud's life to the 2nd year of Cyrus. Jabin, whose body was dried up, ruled 20 years. Deborah and Barak ruled 40 years. Israel was in subjection to the Midianites 7 years, and God delivered them by the hand of Gideon, who ruled 40 years. Abimelech his son reigned 3 years. Tola the son of Puah ruled 23 years. Jair the Gileadite ruled 22 years. Israel was again in subjection to the Ammonites 18 years, and God delivered them by the hand of Jephthah, who offered up his daughter, and he ruled 6 years. Ibzan of Bethlehem ruled 7 years. Elon of Zebulun ruled 10 years. Abdon the son of Hillel ruled 8 years. Israel was in subjection to the Philistines 40 years, and God delivered them by the hand of Samson, who ruled 20 years. Israel lived without a governor for 18 years. Then Eli the priest rose up and ruled 40 years. Samuel rose up and ruled 20 years. In the days of Samuel, Israel provoked God, who had delivered them from Egypt, and they made Saul the son of Kish king. He reigned 40 years. In the days of Saul lived Goliath, the giant of the Philistines. He came near and reviled Israel and blasphemed God, and David the son of Jesse killed him. David was praised in songs by the daughters of Israel, and Saul persecuted him. The Philistines slew Saul because he forsook the Lord and sought refuge among devils. David reigned over the children of Israel 40 years, and Solomon his son reigned 40 years after him. Solomon performed great and wondrous works. He sent to Ophir and brought gold from the mountains of gold, and the ships sailed the sea for 36 months before returning. He built Tadmor in the wilderness and carried out mighty works there. When he passed the borders of the mountain called Seir, he found the altar which Pirzakar, Pirtsanai, and Nesnater had built, men whom Nimrod the giant had sent to Balaam the priest of the mountain of Seir, because he heard that Balaam consulted the signs of the heavens. As they passed the skirts of the mountain, they built an altar to the sun. When Solomon saw it, he built a city there, and called its name Heliopolis, meaning city of the sun. Solomon also built Arvad in the midst of the sea, and his fame spread to the ends of the earth. The queen of Sheba came to speak with him, and Solomon loved Hiram king of Tyre greatly. Hiram reigned in Tyre for 500 years, from the days of David to the days of Zedekiah and all the kings of Israel. At length he forgot that he was a man, and blasphemed, saying, I am God, and I sit upon the throne of God in the midst of the sea. And Nebuchadnezzar the king killed him, the purple linen of Tyre. In the days of Hiram, purple garments worn by kings first appeared. As a dog ran along the shore at Tyre, he bit a purple shellfish rising from the water, and his mouth was stained with its blood. A shepherd saw this and wiped the dog's mouth with a piece of wool. The wool shone like fire in the sun, and when Hiram heard of it, he summoned the man. The dyers gathered, found the shellfish, and rejoiced greatly, for the purple dye was discovered, the apostasy of Solomon. Solomon grew exceedingly great. His daily table required 40 oxen, 100 sheep, 30 measures of fine flour, 6 measures of wheat, 300 measures of wine, and game from the wilderness. But he became proud and transgressed the law. He did not heed the commands of his father David. He took 1,000 wives from the peoples whom God hated. In his old age he gave himself over to women, and they played with him and bent his heart to their will. He denied the God of David his father. He built altars to devils, offered sacrifices to idols, and worshipped the work of hands. God turned his face from him, and Solomon died in his sins. He reigned in Jerusalem 46 years. Rehoboam the son of Solomon reigned after him. He was 41 years old when he began to reign, and he polluted Jerusalem with fornication, the altars of devils, and the stench of heathen worship. The kingdom of Israel was divided in his days. In the 5th year of his reign, Shishak king of Egypt came up against Jerusalem. He carried away all the treasures of the house of the Lord, and all the treasures of the kingdoms of David and Solomon, and the vessels of gold and silver. He said, "I am not taking your wealth, but the wealth your fathers took from Egypt." Rehoboam died in the heathen practices of his father, Abijah and Asa. Abijah his son reigned after him. He filled Jerusalem with fornication and heathen works, and he died in the sins of his father. Asa his son reigned after him for 40 years in Jerusalem. He did what was good before the Lord. He removed fornication from Jerusalem and destroyed the heathen practices of the people, for he kept the commandments of God. He drove the idolaters out of his kingdom and made them a mockery before all the people, for they taught the offering of sacrifices to idols. Zerah of Judah rose against him, but God humbled Zerah before Asa. Asa died in righteousness like his father David. Jehoshaphat his son reigned after him, and he walked in the ways of Asa his father, doing what was pleasing before God. Yet God was angry with him because he was a friend of the house of Ahab, and for this reason God did not permit him to bring gold from Ophir. He built ships to sail there, but they were broken at Ezion-Geber. He was 32 years old when he began to reign, and his mother was Azubah, the daughter of Shili. Jehoshaphat died in his righteousness. Joram reigned after him. He was 32 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem. He did not do what was pleasing before God, for he sacrificed at the altars of devils, and he died in his heathen practices. Ahaziah his son reigned after him. He was 22 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem. He did evil before God in that single year. Because of his wickedness, God delivered him into the hands of his enemies, and they killed him. When he was dead, his mother Athaliah killed all the royal children of the house of David, imagining she would uproot the seed of Judah. The only one she did not slay was Joash, whom Jehosheba, the daughter of Joram and sister of Ahaziah, carried away secretly and hid in her house. The reign of Athaliah. The sister of Ahab reigned 7 years in Jerusalem. She polluted the city with fornication, commanding the women to play the harlot without fear and the men to commit adultery with their neighbors' wives without penalty. She herself lived in fornication like Jezebel and brought all the heathen practices of the house of Ahab into Jerusalem. The reign of Joash. After 7 years, the people of Jerusalem sought whom they should make king. Jehoiada the priest gathered them in the house of the Lord, in the temple Solomon had built. When the captains of thousands and hundreds had assembled, Jehoiada said, "Whom shall we set upon the throne of David except a king and the son of a king?" He showed them Joash, and they rejoiced with exceedingly great joy. The captains, the guards, and the messengers brought the kingdom into the house of the Lord, and the armed soldiers surrounded the boy. Jehoiada set Joash upon the throne of David his father. Joash was 7 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 40 years in Jerusalem. His mother was Zibiah of Beersheba. But Joash repaid evil for the kindness Jehoiada had shown him, and after the priest's death he shed innocent blood. Joash died, and Amaziah his son reigned after him. Amaziah was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. His mother was Joadan. Amaziah died, and Uzziah his son reigned after him. Uzziah was 16 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 52 years in Jerusalem. His mother was Jechaliah. He did what was good before the Lord, but he grew proud and made bold to enter the Holy of Holies. He took the censer from Azariah the priest and burned incense in the temple of the Lord. Because he did this, leprosy covered his face, and because Isaiah the prophet did not rebuke him, Isaiah was prevented from prophesying until Uzziah died. Jotham his son reigned in his stead. Jotham was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. His mother was Jerusha, the daughter of Zadok. He did what was good before the Lord, and he died, and Ahaz his son reigned after him. Ahaz was 20 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. His mother was Abijah, the daughter of Levi. He did what was evil before the Lord and sacrificed to devils. Tiglath-Pileser king came up against him, and Ahaz wrote himself down as his servant. The Assyrian held him in subjection. Ahaz sent to the king of Assyria the gold and silver from the house of the Lord. In his days the children of Israel were carried away into captivity. The king of Assyria brought men from Babel to dwell in the land in place of the children of Israel because they could kill the lions that troubled the land. The king sent to them a priest named Ori, and he taught them the laws. Ahaz died, and Hezekiah his son reigned after him. Hezekiah was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. His mother was Abhi, the daughter of Zechariah. He did what was pleasing before the Lord. He smashed the altars, cut in pieces the bronze serpent Moses had made in the wilderness, because the children of Israel had begun to worship it, and he abolished the heathen practices in Jerusalem. In the 4th year of his reign, Shalmaneser king of Assyria came up and carried away captive the rest of the children of Israel, sending them into Media beyond Babel. In the 20th year of Hezekiah, Sennacherib king of Assyria came up and took all the fortified cities of Judah. But through the prayer of Hezekiah, Jerusalem was saved. Hezekiah became sick unto death, and his sorrow was great. Men blamed him, but they did not understand the cause of his grief. His sorrow came because he had no son to reign after him. When he looked with the eyes of his soul and saw that the line of David would end with him, he wept and said, "Woe is me! I must die childless. And the blessing given for 46 generations is cut off by me this day. I have become the destroyer of the kingdom of David." After he recovered from his sickness, he waited 14 years, and then Manasseh was born to him. Hezekiah died in peace, for he left a son to sit upon the throne of David his father. Manasseh was 12 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 55 years in Jerusalem. His mother was Hephzibah. He was more evil and iniquitous than all who lived before him. He built altars to devils, sacrificed to idols, filled Jerusalem with iniquity, and provoked God to wrath. Because Isaiah the prophet rebuked him, Manasseh threatened him and sent wicked men who sawed Isaiah in two between two pieces of wood from head to foot. Isaiah was 120 years old when he died, and he had been a prophet for 90 years. After this, Manasseh repented. He put on sackcloth, decreed fasting for himself, and ate his bread with tears all the days of his life because he had slain the prophet. Manasseh died, and Amon his son reigned after him. Amon was 22 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 2 years in Jerusalem. His mother was Meshullemeth. Amon did evil before the Lord and made his sons pass through the fire. He died, and Josiah his son reigned after him. Josiah was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 31 years in Jerusalem. His mother was Jedidah, the daughter of Azariah of Bozkath. He did what was good before the Lord, and walked in all the ways of David his father, turning aside neither to the right nor to the left. Pharaoh Necho, the lame, killed him, and Jehoahaz his son reigned after him. Jehoahaz was 23 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem. His mother was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. He did evil before the Lord, as Manasseh had done. Pharaoh Necho took him prisoner at Riblah, in the land of Hamath, while he was king in Jerusalem. He laid tribute on the land, 100 talents of silver and 10 talents of gold. Pharaoh made Eliakim, the son of Josiah, king instead of his father, and changed his name to Jehoiakim. He carried Jehoahaz away to Egypt, where he died. Jehoiakim gave silver and gold to Pharaoh. He laid the payment upon the land according to Pharaoh's command. Every man brought silver and gold according to what was required of him, according to the word of Pharaoh the lame. 500 years passed from the 2nd year of Cyrus to the birth of Christ. When the people went up to Jerusalem, they had no books of the prophets. Ezra the scribe went down into the pit where Simeon had cast the books, and he found a censer full of fire, and the fragrance of incense rising from it. Thrice he took dust from the place where the books had lain and cast it into his mouth, and God caused the spirit of prophecy to dwell in him. Ezra renewed all the books of the prophets. The fire found in the pit became the holy fire in the house of the Lord. Zerubbabel reigned in Jerusalem. Joshua the son of Jozadak was high priest, and Ezra was the scribe of the law and the prophets. The children of Israel kept a Passover when they went up from Babylon. These were the 3 Passovers they kept, the first in Egypt in the days of Moses, the second in the reign of Josiah, and the third when they returned from Babylon. After this, the Passover ceased for them forever. From the captivity of Jerusalem, when Daniel was taken, to the reign of Cyrus the Persian, was 70 years, according to the prophecy of Jeremiah. The children of Israel began to rebuild the temple in the days of Zerubbabel, Joshua the son of Jozadak, and Ezra the scribe. The building was completed in 46 years, as written in the Holy Gospel. The genealogies after the return. The scribes lost the genealogies of the tribes, and could not show from whom the heads of families took their wives or from where they came. But the true genealogy is known and is set forth here. When the children of Israel went up from Babylon, Zerubbabel begot Abiud by Malkath, the daughter of Ezra the scribe. Abiud took Zachiath, the daughter of Joshua son of Jozadak the priest, and begot Eliakim. Eliakim took Halab, the daughter of Dernib, and begot Azor. Azor took Yalpath, the daughter of Elazor, and begot Zadok. Zadok took Kaltin, the daughter of Derniv, and begot Akin. Akin took Heskath, the daughter of Tail, and begot Eliad. Eliad took Beshtin, the daughter of Hasal, and begot Eleazar. Eleazar took Dibath, the daughter of Tola, and begot Mathan. Mathan took Sebrath, the daughter of Phinehas, and begot 2 sons at one conception, Jacob and Yonakir. Jacob took Hadbith, the daughter of Eleazar, and begot Joseph. Yonakir took Dinah, the daughter of Pakta, and begot Mary, of whom Christ was born. Because the early writers could not discover the true order of the generations, the Jews pressed the sons of the church to show them the fathers of the Blessed Mary. They urged the church to inquire into the genealogy of their fathers and reveal the truth. For the Jews called Mary an adulteress. But here their mouths are stopped, for it is shown that Mary was of the seed of David and of Abraham. The Jews have no trustworthy table of succession, for their books were burned 3 times, once in the days of Antiochus, who persecuted them and polluted the temple, a second time in later days, and a third time when Jerusalem was destroyed under Herod. Because of this they were grieved, for they could not trace the generations of their fathers. They had many writers, each writing what he pleased, and no 2 agreed, for they lacked the foundation of truth. Even the writers of the church could not show with certainty how the body of Adam was brought to Golgotha, nor the fathers of Melchizedek, nor the fathers of the Blessed Mary. The children of Israel, urged by the church and unable to discover the truth, became reckless and wrote in the madness of error. Their writings were confused, for the truth had escaped them. Concerning the table of succession of the 63 families from Adam to Christ, neither the Greek writers nor the Hebrew writers nor the Syrian writers could show from whom each head of a family took his wife, nor whose daughter she was. Yet each divine teacher laid down one true doctrine for the church, giving believers the armor with which to overcome her enemies. But the grace of Christ has granted to us what was lacking in them, and this we cast into the treasury of their knowledge. With diligence we have stirred ourselves to complete this work, even as our beloved brother in Christ, the illustrious Nemesius, desired. Though hindered by delay, his love of learning did not grow weary, and because of his kindness, and because I would not withhold from him what he sought, I now write the true table of succession. Here, O my brother Nemesius, the table of the 63 generations from which the incarnation of Christ is descended. None of the former doctors discovered it. The 63 generations from Adam to Christ. Adam begot Seth. Seth took Calmath, who was born with Abel, and begot Enos. Enos took Hannah, daughter of Jubal, daughter of Ho, daughter of Seth, and begot Cainan. Cainan took Periath, daughter of Ketan, daughter of Yarbul, and begot Malaleel. Malaleel took Sehatpar, daughter of Enos, and begot Jared. Jared took Zebita, daughter of Kulan, daughter of Kenan, and begot Enoch. Enoch took Zadkin, daughter of Topi, daughter of Malaleel, and begot Methuselah. Methuselah took Soktith, daughter of Sekhin, and begot Lamech. Lamech took Kippar, daughter of Tathath, daughter of Methuselah, and begot Noah. Noah took Hekal, daughter of Namus, and begot Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Shem begot Arphaxad. Arphaxad begot Salah. Salah begot Eber. Eber begot Peleg. Peleg begot Ru. Ru begot Serug. Serug took Kahal, daughter of Peleg, and begot Nahor. Nahor took Napish, daughter of Ru, and begot Terah. Terah took 2 wives, Jonah and Salmith. By Jonah he begot Abraham, and by Salmith he begot Sarah. Abraham took Sarah and begot Isaac. Isaac took Rebekah and begot Jacob. Jacob took Leah and begot Judah. Judah begot Pharez by Tamar. Pharez begot Hezron. Hezron begot Aram. Aram begot Amminadab. Amminadab begot Nahshon. Nahshon begot Salmon. Salmon begot Boaz by Rahab. Boaz took Ruth, daughter of Lot, and begot Obed. Obed begot Jesse. Jesse begot David the king. David took Bathsheba and begot Solomon. Solomon begot Rehoboam. Rehoboam begot Abijah. Abijah begot Asa. Asa begot Jehoshaphat. Jehoshaphat begot Joram. Joram begot Ahaziah. Ahaziah begot Joash. Joash begot Amaziah. Amaziah begot Uzziah. Uzziah begot Jotham. Jotham begot Ahaz. Ahaz begot Hezekiah. Hezekiah begot Manasseh. Manasseh begot Ammon. Ammon begot Josiah. Josiah begot Jehoiakim. Jehoiakim begot Jehoiachin. Jehoiachin begot Salathiel. Salathiel begot Nedabiah. Nedabiah begot Zerubbabel. Zerubbabel begot Abiud. Abiud begot Eliakim. Eliakim begot Azor. Azor begot Zadok. Zadok begot Achan. Achan begot Eliud. Eliud begot Eleazar. Eleazar begot Mathan. Mathan took Sebrath, daughter of Phinehas, and begot Jacob and Yonakir. Jacob took Hadbith, daughter of Eleazar, and begot Joseph, the betrothed of Mary. Yonakir took Dinah, also called Hannah, daughter of Pakta, and 60 years after he took her to wife, she brought forth Mary, of whom Christ was born. The genealogy of Mary. Joseph was the son of Mary's uncle. By the foreknowledge of God, who knew the Jews would accuse Mary, she was given to Joseph, her kinsman, that he might protect her. Thus the fathers of the Blessed Mary belonged to the royal succession of David. Behold, you are set upon a foundation of truth, which none of the former chroniclers discovered. See how these 63 generations, from Adam to the birth of Christ, succeeded one another. And the Jews rejoiced also, for they too found the generations of their fathers. In the days of Cyrus, the 5,000 years came to an end, and from the days of Cyrus to the passion of our Redeemer were 500 years, according to the prophecy of Daniel, who said, After 62 weeks, the Messiah shall be slain. And those weeks are 500 years. From this time forward the mouth of the Jews is shut, for they have dared to say that the Messiah has not yet come. They must choose one of 2 things, either accept the prophecy of Daniel or deny it openly. For the prophecy has fulfilled itself. The weeks have passed, the Messiah has been slain, and the holy city has been laid waste by Vespasian, the birth of Christ. In the 42nd year of the reign of Augustus, Christ was born in Bethlehem of Judah, as it is written in the Holy Gospel. The star and the Magi. 2 years before Christ was born, the star appeared to the Magi. They saw it shining in the firmament, brighter than all other stars, and within it was the form of a maiden carrying a child, and a crown was set upon his head. It was the custom of the ancient kings and the Magi of the Chaldeans to consult the signs of the zodiac concerning all the affairs of their lives. When they saw the star, they were troubled and afraid, and all the land of Persia was disturbed. The kings, the Magi, the Chaldeans, and the wise men of Persia were stupefied at the portent. They said, Perhaps the king of the Greeks has determined to wage war against the land of Nimrod. The Magi and the Chaldeans searched their books of wisdom. By the might of the knowledge handed down from their fathers, they understood the truth. They discovered in the revelation of Nimrod that a king had been born in Judah, and the whole path of the dispensation of Christ was revealed to them. They knew by the motions of the stars, those signs to which they gave the name of the zodiac, that great events were taking place. Just as sailors discern the rising of storms by the stars, so the Magi discerned the birth of the king, the nature of the star. The star was not like the other stars of heaven. The stars, the sun, and the moon move from east to west, but this star moved from north to south, for Palestine lies thus over against Persia. It was seen not only at night, but also by day, even at noon, for its light was not quenched by the sun. Sometimes it appeared, and sometimes it withdrew. It rose and descended, guiding the Magi as a living power, not as a wandering star. The journey of the Magi. According to the tradition handed down to them, the Magi departed from the east and ascended the mountains of Nod, which lie at the entrances of the east from the northern lands. From there they took gold, myrrh, and frankincense. By these offerings they revealed their knowledge of the whole mystery of the Redeemer: gold for a king, myrrh for a physician, frankincense for a priest, for they knew who he was, and that he was king and physician and priest. Now when the son of the king of Sheba was a little boy, his father brought him to a rabbi, and he learned the book of the Hebrews better than all his companions. He said to his servants, "It is written in all the books of genealogies that the king shall be born in Bethlehem. These are the kings who bore offerings to the king, mighty ones and sons of kings. Hormizdath, king of Persia, called king of kings, who dwelt in Lower Adhergan. Yazdegerd, king of Saba. Perozad, king of Sheba in the east. The Magi entered Jerusalem. When the Magi prepared to go up, the kingdoms of the mighty men of war were disturbed and afraid, for the company that went with the Magi was exceedingly great. All the cities of the east were shaken before them, and they entered Jerusalem also. When they came into the presence of Herod, he trembled before them. He said to them, 'Go in peace, and search diligently for the young child. When you have found him, come and tell me, that I too may go and worship him.' Though deceit was in his heart, homage was on his lips. At that time there was great commotion in Judea because of the decree of Augustus Caesar, commanding that every man be registered in the city of his fathers. Because of this Herod was troubled, and he urged the Magi to go and search for the child. The Magi were called Magi because of the garments of Magianism, in which the heathen kings arrayed themselves when they offered sacrifices to their gods. They wore two kinds of apparel, the royal garments within, and the garments of Magianism without. Thus also were those who went up to offer gifts to Christ. The star leads them to the cave. When the Magi departed from Jerusalem and from Herod, the star that had guided them appeared again, and they rejoiced greatly. The star went before them until they entered the cave, where they saw the young child wrapped in swaddling bands and laid in a manger. As they journeyed, they said within themselves, 'When we arrive, we shall behold mighty and wonderful things, according to the custom of kings when a royal child is born.' They expected to find a palace, couches of gold, purple garments, soldiers standing in awe, nobles presenting gifts, tables spread with royal food, and servants attending in fear. But when they entered the cave, they saw sights far greater than these. They saw Joseph in astonishment and Mary in wonder. There was no couch, no table, no royal adornment. Yet though they beheld poverty and humility, they doubted nothing. They drew near in reverence, bowed down before him, and offered gold, and myrrh, and frankincense. It was grievous to Mary and Joseph that they had nothing to set before them, but the Magi ate food they had brought with them. The circumcision of Christ. Christ was 8 days old when the Magi presented their offerings, and Mary received them at the very moment Joseph circumcised him. Joseph performed the act according to the law, yet no flesh was cut from him. As iron passes through fire and divides its flame without losing any part of itself, so Christ was circumcised without anything being taken from him. The conversion of the Magi. The Magi remained with the child for 3 days. They saw the hosts of heaven ascending and descending before him, and they heard the voices of angels singing, "Holy, holy, holy, mighty God, whose praises fill heaven and earth." Fear fell upon them, and they believed, saying, "This is the King who has come down from heaven and become man." Perozad spoke, saying, "Now I know the prophecy of Isaiah is true. For when I studied in the school of the Hebrews, I read, 'Unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, God, Giant of the Worlds. And again, behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and his name shall be called Emmanuel, God with us.' Seeing that he had become like a man, and that angels descended to him, they said, 'Truly, this King is God.' Kings are born to us on earth, but never have angels come down to them. They rose and worshipped him as Lord and King of the world. After preparing food for their journey, they returned to their land by a desert road, the massacre of the innocents. Some have asked, where was Christ when the children were slain? It was because of this massacre that he fled to Egypt, fulfilling the prophecy, "Out of Egypt have I called my son." When Christ entered Egypt, all the idols fell from their places and were shattered, fulfilling the word, "Behold, the Lord rides upon a swift cloud and enters Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be broken before him." He remained in Egypt until Herod died, and Archelaus reigned after him. Know, O my brother, that all who were under Herod were enrolled in the registration for taxation, and the registration was completed in 50 days. Only after it was sealed and sent to Augustus did Herod begin to search for the Messiah. Until that time, no children had been slain. It was during the turmoil of this registration that Christ was born. When 40 days were fulfilled, Christ was brought into the temple. Simeon the aged, son of Joshua bar Jozadak, who lived from the days when the captivity returned from Babylon, took him in his arms. Simeon was 500 years old when he received Christ. The flight into Egypt. Then the angel said to Joseph, "Arise, take the young child and his mother, and flee into Egypt." When the registration was completed, the people were dismissed to return to their villages, Herod and John the Baptist. Herod sought the Magi, and when he learned they had returned to their own land, he was enraged. He sent soldiers and slew all the young children in Bethlehem and the surrounding villages. When Herod passed among the slain and did not find John, son of Zacharias, he said, "Truly, his son will reign over Israel." For he remembered the words spoken to Zacharias by the angel. Herod sent for Zacharias, demanding that he bring John, but Zacharias said, "I am a priest and minister in the temple of the Lord. I do not know where the child and his mother are." Because of these words, Zacharias was slain between the steps and the altar. The death of Herod. A pitiless divine punishment overtook Herod. His flesh rotted, his body dissolved into worms, and his stench became so foul that none could approach him. In grievous torment, his soul departed into outer darkness. Yet even in death he destroyed many. Before he died, he slew his wife and daughter, and he commanded that one man from every household be imprisoned. He said, "When I die, there shall be mourning in every house, so that the Jews may not rejoice while you weep." And when he died, Archelaus and Shalom carried out his command, and all Judea was filled with lamentation, as Egypt had been in ancient days. Christ returns to Galilee. When Herod died and the news reached Joseph, he returned with the child to Galilee. When Christ was 30 years old, he was baptized by John. John lived in the desert all his days, feeding on the root called kami, which was like wild honey. In the 12th year of the reign of Tiberius, Christ suffered, the 6,000 years. Understand, O my brother, that, in the 40th year of Jared, the first 1,000 years ended. In the 600th year of Noah, the second 1,000 years ended. In the 74th year of Ra'u, the third 1,000 years ended. In the 26th year of Ehud, the fourth 1,000 years ended. In the second year of Cyrus, the fifth 1,000 years ended. In the 500th year of the 6,000 years, Christ was born in the flesh, the crucifixion of Christ. Christ dwelt in Mary, suffered in Nazareth, was born in Bethlehem, laid in a manger, carried by Simeon in the temple, reared in Galilee, anointed by Mary Magdalene, ate the Passover in the house of Nicodemus, was bound in the house of Annas, struck with a reed in the house of Caiaphas, scourged at the pillar in the praetorium of Pilate, and on Friday, the first day of Nisan, the 14th day of the moon, our Redeemer suffered. The mystical parallels between Adam and Christ. At the first hour of Friday, God formed Adam from the dust. At the first hour of Friday, Christ received spittle from the sons of Adam. At the second hour, the beasts and birds gathered before Adam, and he named them. At the second hour, the Jews gathered against Christ and gnashed their teeth at him. At the third hour, a crown of glory was placed on Adam's head. At the third hour, a crown of thorns was placed on Christ. Adam shone in paradise for 3 hours. Christ was beaten for 3 hours by creatures made from dust. At the 6th hour, Eve approached the tree of transgression. Christ ascended the cross, the tree of life. Eve gave Adam the fruit of death, The crowd gave Christ vinegar and gall. Adam stood naked beneath the tree for 3 hours. Christ hung naked upon the wood for 3 hours. From Adam's right side came Eve, mother of mortal offspring. From Christ's right side came baptism, mother of immortal offspring. On Friday, Adam and Eve sinned. On Friday, their sin was forgiven. They died. On Friday, they were made alive. Death ruled over them. On Friday, they were freed. They were cast out of paradise. On Friday, Christ entered the grave. They became naked. On Friday, Christ stripped himself to clothe them. Satan stripped them. On Friday, Christ stripped Satan and his hosts and put them to open shame. The door of paradise was shut. On Friday, it was opened, and a robber entered in. The cherub received the two-edged sword. On Friday, Christ struck it with the spear and broke it. On Friday, priesthood, kingdom, and prophecy were given to Adam, and on Friday, priesthood, kingdom, and prophecy were taken away from the Jews. At the 9th hour, Adam descended from the height of paradise into the lowest depths of the earth. At the 9th hour, Christ descended from the height of the cross into the lowest depths of the earth, to those who slept in the dust. Christ was like unto Adam in all things, as it is written. In the very place where Melchizedek ministered as priest, and where Abraham offered Isaac upon the altar, the wood of the cross was set up. That place is the center of the earth, where the 4 quarters of the world meet. When God created the earth, his power ran before it, and the earth followed after it. The power of God stood still in Golgotha, and there became motionless. That place became the boundary and navel of the earth. When Shem took up the body of Adam, the earth opened itself at that place. When Shem and Melchizedek laid Adam's body in the center of the earth, the 4 quarters closed around him and embraced him, and the opening was sealed. No child of Adam was able to open it. But when the cross of Christ, the Redeemer of Adam and his sons, was set upon that place, the door of the earth opened before Adam. When the wood was fixed, and Christ was pierced with the spear, blood and water flowed from his side, and ran down into the mouth of Adam. They became baptism unto him, and Adam was baptized. When the Jews crucified Christ, they divided his garments beneath the cross. His tunic was purple, the garment of royalty. When they stripped him of the royal robe, Pilate would not allow them to clothe him in ordinary apparel, but only in the garments of kings, purple or scarlet, so that his kingship might be known. One evangelist says, they put on him a purple robe, and another says, they clothed him in scarlet. Both spoke truly. Scarlet proclaimed blood, purple proclaimed water. Scarlet signified the immortal nature of man, purple the mortal. Scarlet proclaimed life. Thus the spies said to Rahab, tie a scarlet thread in the window, for the window symbolized the side of Christ, and the scarlet thread his precious blood which brings life. They wove a crown of thorns and set it upon his head. They arrayed him in royal garments, not knowing what they did. They bowed the knee and said, Hail, King of the Jews, speaking truth with their lips, though their hearts were hardened. When the Jews and the soldiers of Herod and Pilate strove to tear the tunic of Christ to divide it, they did so because of its beauty. But the centurion said, the command given to me does not permit the rending of the royal garment. Cast lots for it. And the lot fell to one of Pilate's soldiers. The tunic of Christ had no seam, but was woven whole from top to bottom. Whenever the land where it was kept lacked rain, the people would lift up the tunic toward heaven, and rain would fall in abundance. The soldier who received it did likewise for his fields, and the tunic worked this miracle. Pilate seized the tunic and sent it to the Emperor Tiberius. This tunic signifies the Orthodox faith, which all nations hold fast to. 3 priceless gifts were given to Israel in ancient times: royalty, priesthood, and prophecy. Prophecy through Moses, priesthood through Aaron, and royalty through David. These 3 gifts, which the generations of Israel possessed for many years, were taken from them in one day. They were stripped of all 3: prophecy by the cross, priesthood by the rending of the tunic, royalty by the crown of thorns. The spirit of compassion that dwelt in the Holy of Holies departed from them. The veil of the sanctuary was torn in 2. The Passover fled from them, for they never again celebrated a true Passover. When Pilate urged them to enter the judgment hall, they said, we cannot enter the praetorium. for we have not yet eaten the Passover." When the sentence of death had been passed upon our Lord by Pilate, the Jews hastened into the sanctuary and brought out the carrying poles of the Ark of the Covenant. From these sacred pieces of wood they fashioned the cross of Christ. It was fitting that the wood which once bore the covenant should now bear the Lord of the Covenant. The cross was formed of 2 beams equal in height, depth, length, and breadth. Paul the Apostle labored greatly that the nations might understand the might of the cross, which embraces the height, depth, length, and breadth of the earth. When they lifted up Christ, the lamp of light for all the world, and set him upon the candlestick of the cross, the light of the sun was darkened, and a veil of darkness covered the whole earth. 3 nails were driven into his body, 2 through his hands, and 1 through both his feet. 2 thieves were crucified with him, 1 on his right and 1 on his left. They offered him vinegar mixed with gall upon a sponge. By the vinegar it was shown that their hearts had turned from righteousness to wickedness. By the gall, the bitterness of the serpent within them was revealed. They showed that they had once belonged to the good vineyard from which prophets, kings, and priests had drunk. But now, as wicked heirs who refused to labor in the vineyard of the beloved, they produced only husks instead of grapes. The wine they pressed was sour. Having crucified the heir upon the wood, they mingled the impurity of their wickedness with their sour wine and gave it to him to drink. But he refused, saying, "Give me of that vine which my father brought out of Egypt," for he knew that the prophecy of Moses had been fulfilled in them. "Your grapes are grapes of gall. Your clusters are bitter. Your wine is the poison of serpents, and your head is that of a malignant viper." Thus Moses, with the eye of the Spirit, foresaw what they would do to Christ and said, "These are the things which you render unto the Lord." The congregation of the crucifiers was a decayed vine. Its daughters were bitter grapes. Its sons were clusters of gall. Their head was Caiaphas, the malignant viper, and they were all serpents filled with the venom of Satan, the evil serpent. Instead of the water from the rock which had been given to their fathers in the wilderness, they gave him vinegar. Instead of manna, they gave him gall. They did not offer him a cup, but a sponge, showing that the blessing of their fathers had been wiped away from them. For when a vessel is empty and has no wine, it is washed and wiped with a sponge. So the Jews, by giving him vinegar and a sponge, wiped away from themselves royalty, priesthood, prophecy, and the true faith, leaving only empty vessels. When the law and the prophets had been fulfilled, and Adam had seen the fountain of living water poured out for his redemption, Christ was pierced with the spear. Blood and water flowed from his side, yet they did not mingle. The blood came forth first, that life might be given to Adam, and afterward the water for baptism. The blood showed that he was immortal, the water showed that he was mortal and had borne suffering. The blood and water ran down into the mouth of Adam, and Adam was redeemed and clothed in a garment of glory. Christ wrote the decree of his return with his own blood and sent it by the thief. When all things had been accomplished, the writ of repudiation of the congregation was written. The congregation was cast aside and stripped of its glory, as David had prophesied, even unto the horns of the altar, meaning the crucifixion of Christ, to which the festivals of the Jews were brought to an end. The genealogy of Christ. From Adam to Seth, from Seth to Enos, from Enos to Cainan, from Cainan to Mahalalel, from Mahalalel to Jared, from Jared to Enoch, from Enoch to Methuselah, from Methuselah to Lamech, from Lamech to Noah, from Noah to Shem, from Shem to Arphaxad, from Arphaxad to Salah, from Salah to Eber, from Eber to Peleg, from Peleg to Reu, from Reu to Serug, from Serug to Nahor, from Nahor to Terah, from Terah to Abraham, from Abraham to Isaac, from Isaac to Jacob, from Jacob to Judah, from Judah to Pharez, from Pharez to Hezron, from Hezron to Aram, from Aram to Amminadab, from Amminadab to Nahshon, from Nahshon to Salmon, from Salmon to Boaz, from Boaz to Obed, from Obed to Jesse, from Jesse to David, from David to Solomon, from Solomon to Rehoboam, from Rehoboam to Abijah, from Abijah to Asa, from Asa to Jehoshaphat, from Jehoshaphat to Joram, from Joram to Ahaziah, from Ahaziah to Joash, from Joash to Amaziah, from Amaziah to Uzziah, from Uzziah to Jotham, from Jotham to Ahaz, from Ahaz to Hezekiah, from Hezekiah to Manasseh, from Manasseh to Ammon, from Ammon to Josiah, from Josiah to Jehoahaz, from Jehoahaz to Jehoiakim, from Jehoiakim to Jehoiachin, from Jehoiachin to Salathiel, from Salathiel to Zerubbabel, from Zerubbabel to Abiud, from Abiud to Eliakim, from Eliakim to Azor, from Azor to Zadok, from Zadok to Achin, from Achin to Eliud, from Eliud to Eleazar, from Eleazar to Mathan, from Mathan to Jacob and Yonakir, from Yonakir to Mary, from Mary to the manger, from the manger to the circumcision, from the circumcision to the temple, from the temple to Egypt, from Egypt to Galilee, from Galilee to Jerusalem, from Jerusalem to the Jordan, from the Jordan to the desert, from the desert to Judah, from Judah to the preaching, from the preaching to the upper chamber, from the upper chamber to the judgment hall, from the judgment hall to the cross, from the cross to the grave, from the grave to the upper chamber, from the upper chamber to heaven, and from heaven to the throne, where he sits at the right hand of his Father, the end of the 62 weeks. From Adam to the Jews, and from the Jews from generation to generation, until the cross of Christ, the families and their festivals succeeded one another. But from the cross onward, the festivals of the Jews ceased, as David said, "Bind our festivals with chains even unto the horns of the altar." The chains are the generations linked together. The altar is the cross of Christ. Until the cross, the Jews possessed priesthood, royalty, prophecy, and the Passover. From the cross until now, they have none of these. Daniel prophesied after 62 weeks Christ shall be slain, and the holy city shall be laid waste until the completion of all things. Thus it has been fulfilled forever. Joseph and Nicodemus prepare the body of Christ. When the end of the law and the prophets had come, and Christ hung upon the cross, Joseph, brother of Nicodemus and Cleophas, went to Pilate. Joseph bore Pilate's seal ring and was a counselor with free access to him. He asked for the body of the Redeemer, and Pilate granted it. Pilate also gave Joseph the garden in which the tomb stood, for it belonged to Joseph as an inheritance from Phinehas the Levite, his uncle's son. Joseph took down the body of the Lord. The Jews seized the cross and carried it into the temple, for its wood had been the bearing poles of the Ark of the Covenant. Nicodemus embalmed the body with clean, new linen. Joseph laid him in a new tomb that had been prepared for Joshua, the son of Nun. Seeing with the eye of the Spirit the mystery of Christ's dispensation, Joseph took the stone that had followed Israel in the wilderness and placed it at the door of the tomb. Therefore Joseph himself was not buried in it. Joseph, Nicodemus, and Cleophas rolled the stone before the tomb. The high priests and the servants of Pilate sealed the grave and the stone, the cross of Christ. Marvel, O my brother, that all the bindings of the cross were joined upon the very wood that once bore the Ark of the Covenant and the covering of propitiation. God commanded Moses to make a breastplate of judgment and peace. Judgment for the Jews who crucified him, peace for the Gentiles who believed in him. The cross was made from the wood of the sanctuary. The grave was new, prepared for Joshua the son of Nun. The stone was the rock that had given water to 600,000 in the desert, and now became an altar giving life to the Gentiles. As the apostle said, that rock was Christ. Joseph was counselor in Ramtha. Nicodemus was teacher of the law in Jerusalem. Cleophas was recorder of the Hebrews in Emmaus. Nicodemus prepared the Passover in the upper chamber. Joseph prepared the burial. Cleophas received him into his house. After the resurrection, these men became his faithful brethren. The trilingual inscription. Joseph removed the inscription that had been placed above the head of Christ. Pilate had written it in Greek, Latin, and Hebrew. He wrote no Syriac, for the Syrians had no part in the shedding of Christ's blood. Pilate wrote according to the law of Moses, naming the nations who condemned the innocent in the order of their guilt. Herod the Greek, Caiaphas the Hebrew, Pilate the Roman. The Syrians were innocent, as testified by Abgar, king of Edessa, who desired to destroy Jerusalem because the Jews had crucified Christ. The harrowing of hell, Christ's descent into Sheol was not in vain. He dismissed death from his dominion. He preached resurrection to those who slept in the dust. He pardoned those who had sinned against the law. He laid waste Sheol and slew sin. He put Satan to shame and made the devils mourn. He abolished sacrifices and offerings. He made defense for Adam. He brought the festivals of the Jews to an end. The resurrection of Christ. On the third day, Christ rose from the grave and appeared to Peter and John. While the watchmen sat around the tomb, Peter planned to give them wine so they would sleep, that he might take the body without breaking the seals. But while they ate and drank, Christ rose and appeared to Peter. Peter believed and did not approach the tomb. Christ then appeared openly to the watchmen. He went to his disciples in the upper chamber. Thomas touched him. He appeared to them by the sea. Peter, who had denied him 3 times before the Jews, confessed him 3 times before the disciples. Christ entrusted his flock to Peter, saying, "Feed my sheep, my lambs, and my ewes," that is, men, women, and children. 40 days after his resurrection, he bestowed upon the apostles the laying on of hands of the priesthood. Then he ascended to heaven and sat at the right hand of his Father. When the apostles had gathered themselves together, they went up into the upper chamber with Mary, the Holy Virgin. Simon Peter baptized Mary, and John the Virgin received her into his care. They decreed a fast until the Spirit, the Paraclete, should descend upon them at Pentecost, for they were all assembled together in one place. Tongues of fire were distributed among them, each receiving a language according to the nation he was appointed to teach, so that no strife or division might arise among them. Thus ended the book of the order of the succession of families from Adam to Christ, which is called the Cave of Treasures. To God be glory forever. The Testament of Adam. Understand, my son, the hours of the day and the hours of the night, and how it is fitting to make supplication to God at each appointed time. My Creator taught me all these things. He revealed to me the names of the wild beasts, the birds of heaven, and the number of the hours, and he showed me how the angels praise him. The hours of the day. At the first hour the prayer of my children ascends to God. At the second hour the angels offer their petitions. At the third hour the birds of heaven praise him. At the fourth hour the spiritual beings worship him. At the fifth hour the wild beasts and animals salute him. At the sixth hour the cherubim present their petitions. At the seventh hour all the angels enter before God and go forth again. For at this hour the prayer of every living thing ascends to him. At the eighth hour the shining hosts of heaven praise him. At the ninth hour the angels who stand before the throne of the Most High do him homage. At the 10th hour the Holy Spirit overshadows the waters, and the devils flee from them. If this overshadowing did not take place, no man could drink of the waters without harm. If a priest takes water at this hour and mixes holy oil with it, and anoints the sick or those possessed, they shall be healed. At the 11th hour, the glorifying of the righteous takes place. At the 12th hour, God receives the prayers and petitions of the children of men, the hours of the night. At the first hour, even the devils render thanks and praise to God, and no harm is in them until their service is finished. At the second hour, the fish and all creatures of the waters praise him. At the third hour, the fire praises him from the depths. At the fourth hour, the seraphim proclaim him holy. At the fifth hour, the waters above the heavens praise him with a sound like mighty wheels and the roaring of the sea. At the sixth hour, the clouds praise him in fear and trembling. At the seventh hour, the earth is hushed in silence, and every creature rests. If a priest mixes water with holy oil at this hour and anoints the sick or those who cannot sleep, they shall be healed and find rest. At the eighth hour, the earth brings forth grass, herbs, leaves, and fruit. At the ninth hour, the angels perform their service, and the prayers of men rise to God. At the 10th hour, the gates of heaven are opened, and the petitions of the believers are granted. At the sound of the seraphim's wings, the cocks crow and praise God. At the 11th hour, joy and gladness fill the ends of the earth, for the sun enters paradise, and its light rises upon all creation. At the 12th hour, it is fitting for my children to stand before God and pay him homage, for a great silence rests upon all the heavenly beings. Adam foretells the coming of Christ. Know, my son, that the word of God, the Most High, shall come down to earth, as he told me when he drove me from the garden. He said that in the latter days his word would become man, born from a virgin named Mary. He would hide in her and put on flesh, and be born like a man with great power and wisdom. No one would know him except himself and those to whom he revealed himself. He would walk among men, grow in years, perform signs and wonders, tread upon the sea as upon dry land, rebuke the winds and waves, and they would obey him. He would open the eyes of the blind, cleanse lepers, make the deaf hear, and the dumb speak, raise the paralytic, make the lame walk, turn many from error to the knowledge of God, and cast out devils. God said to me, "Be not sorrowful, O Adam, because thou didst desire to become a god and didst transgress my command. I will establish thee, not now, but after a little while. I am God who made thee to go forth from the garden into the earth, which shall bring forth thorns and brambles. Thou shalt bend thy back, and thy knees shall totter in old age, and thy flesh shall become food for worms. But after 5 days and half a day, I will have compassion upon thee. I will come down into thy house, and I will dwell in thy flesh. For thy sake I will be pleased to be born like a child. For thy sake I will walk in the marketplace. For thy sake I will fast 40 days. For thy sake I will accept baptism. And for thy sake I will be pleased to endure suffering. And for thy sake I will be pleased to hang upon the wood of the cross. All these things I will do for thy sake, O Adam. To him be praise, and majesty, and dominion, and glory, and worship, and hymns, with his Father and the Holy Spirit, now and forever and ever. Amen. Furthermore, thou must know, O my son Seth, behold, a flood shall come and shall wash the whole earth because of the children of Cain, the murderer, who slew his brother through jealousy on account of his sister Lud. After the flood, and after many weeks, the latter days shall come. Everything shall be completed, and the time appointed shall arrive, and fire shall consume all that is found before God. Then shall the earth be sanctified, and the Lord of Lords shall walk upon it. And Seth wrote down this commandment, and sealed it with his seal, and with the seal of his father Adam, which he had taken with him from the garden of paradise, and with the seal of Eve his mother.